Are we live on YouTube?
It should be in about 2 seconds.
Okay, great, thanks.
Just syncing up. And we're live.
Okay, thank you. All right, if everyone's ready to go, we're going to go ahead and call the Narragansett Town Council regular meeting to order, February 22nd, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. Everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. One and unborn. Go in now. Go in.
All right, so we're going to move on to the disclosure of executive session votes from our February 7th, 2022 executive session. We had a motion by Councilor Cicilline-Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Jasinski, to retire to executive session of the Town Council in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 4246-4 and 4246-5A for the following purpose: litigation in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 4246-5A2, Riley versus Town of Narragansett Pension Board, SU 2020-0272A. It was a roll call vote. Jesse Pugh, Council President, aye. Susan Cicilline, Council President Pro Tem, aye. Everett Jasinski, Council Member, aye. And Deb Kopech, Council Member, aye. Councilor Patrick Murray was absent. Motion by Councilor Cicilline-Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Jasinski to approve to retain Aaron Weissman, Esquire, for an additional 20 hours to complete the argument and for preparation of the case. So unanimously voted, with Councilor Murray absent. Motion by Councilor Jasinski, seconded by Councilor Kopech, to exit executive session and reconvene an open meeting. So unanimously voted with 4 in favor. Councilor Cicilline-Bonanno was absent for that final vote to reconvene an open meeting. She was there for the rest of the meeting previous to that. Next, we have the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the February 7th, 2022 executive session?
I'll make a motion to approve the February 7th executive session minutes.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline-Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopech, aye.
And Patrick?
Patrick Murray.
Yes, aye, motion approved 5-0. Next, we have a proclamation honoring our former Public Works Director, Michael Detrico, who's on with us tonight. So we're going to go ahead and read that. Let me just pull that up. Sorry, 1 second, just having a technical issue. Sorry, bear with me on this one. Okay. All right. A proclamation honoring Public Works Director Michael Detrico. Whereas Michael Detrico retired as Director of the Public Works Department, Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, as of February 13th, 2022, after 28 years of service to the town. Whereas Michael Detrico began his career with the Town of Narragansett as a non-union laborer for Public Works in 1995. Whereas Michael Detrico was hired as a full-time truck driver in July 1997, working his way up to a heavy equipment operator in July 2003, became highway foreman in April 2007, promoted to superintendent of operations for Public Works in April 2008, appointed to interim Director of Public Works in July 2014, and appointed as the Director of Public Works on July 20th, 2015. Whereas Michael Detrico also owned and operated Mariana Construction, his own construction company from 2003 through 2009. Whereas Michael Detrico was responsible for the administration and operation of the town of Narragansett Public Works Department, including fleet maintenance, facilities management maintenance divisions, responsible for maintenance of 103 miles of roads, sidewalk installation, and storm drainage, BMP systems. All of the town of Narragansett's vehicles, including school buses, facility maintenance of the majority of town buildings, including the town hall, the towers, comfort station, and library, as well as an oversight of the recycling and trash program. Whereas Michael Detrico managed and assist in numerous town projects, including the $17 million road construction bond, town hall reconstruction and implementation of the road brine project, and always supports other departments with equipment and personnel when needed. Whereas Michael Detrico has served on numerous boards and committees, including the Rhode Island Public Works Association, as a shop steward in the Rhode Island Council 94 Union. He is a member of the Narragansett Lions Club, South Kingstown Elks Club, and the Rhode Island Technical Assistance Program. Whereas Michael Detrico is a Rhode Island Chainsaw Competition champion, a two-time winner of the Rhode Island Snowplow Rodeo. Whereas Michael Detrico has spent his whole life in Narragansett and is an involved member of the community, serving as assistant coach at Washington County Youth Football, head coach in Narragansett Little League, and assistant football coach of the Narragansett High School. Whereas with the love and support of his sons, Michael and John, his parents and siblings, Michael Detrico has been a powerful influence for good in our community. Now, therefore, all our citizens join with us in extending to Michael Detrico our deep appreciation for his distinguished service and best wishes for continued success in his new endeavors in Florida, adopted this 22nd day of February, 2022. So congratulations, Mike. We appreciate your years of service.
Congrats, Mike.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you
for
very
sticking
much.
around for this proclamation tonight. Before we give Mike a chance to speak, did any other council members wish to speak or say anything?
No, I think congratulations, good luck. Thank you for your years of service.
Same
Okay,
here.
good. Yeah, good luck, Michael, and all your endeavors. Thank you.
Enjoy Florida,
Nobody's
especially in the
jealous.
winter.
No.
Mike,
Yeah,
did
it's
you
only-
have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, it's only 80 down there right now, but and no snow. But no, I don't really have a lot to say. I'm very humbled by all of this. Narragansett's been my home my whole life. I've been a part of the community. My parents, my siblings, my children. Yeah, this has been my career. I mean, I grew up here. I essentially grew up in my adulthood at Public Works. It's been my livelihood, and I'm, honored that the town accepted me when they did in employment, and I'm, happy at the results of my achievements with the town and what we've made the town and what we've made the Department of Public Works over the years. So thank you very much. You're in good hands now. Steve will continue on with my whatever it is, future for Public Works here, and I'm off to continue with new Public Works endeavor for myself, where I will be the new superintendent of Public Works of Charlotte County, Florida. So it'll be a little bit different, but I'm very excited to get going down there. And nope, don't worry, I will stay far away from gators and snakes.
Thank you, Mike. It's sad to see a Detrico leave Narragansett. I went to school with you and your sister and brother. I know our town solicitor did as well. So you come from a great family, And we wish you the best in your new chapter, but it is sad to see Detrico leave Narragansett. So
Thank you. I mean, all of my accomplishments have been here in Narragansett, and nobody loves this town more than I do. But it's just time for me to move on to a new adventure.
best of luck. Thank you again. We all appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mike, very quickly, I just want to say congratulations on the new job. You did a great job for us, and we're going to miss you. And our loss is Charlotte County's gain getting you down there. So we hope you really enjoy, well, not really retire. We hope you really enjoy it. All the best.
It's only about 5 weeks, and then I'm back in stride. So
Good.
All right. Thanks again. Okay. We are going to move on to our consent agenda. Oh, actually, sorry. We're going to go to open forum public comment. So if anyone from the public is interested in speaking on any items not on the agenda tonight, now would be the time. So go ahead and raise your hand, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Anything on the agenda, we'll have a chance to speak on during that item. So this would be for non-agenda items tonight. Why don't we start with Stanley Wojciechowski? Stanley, please state your full name and address.
Stanley Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I can never forget the words of Councilwoman Eva Dzerzhinsky. Not a protected class. I just cannot. I think I'm going to go to my grave with those words as I wake up and think about this. Again, it is in relation to college students, but that, and more importantly, a protected class. You know, you look at history. I guess the blacks couldn't go on buses, and then in Poland, of course, her relatives are Poland. For my relatives are Poland. Of all things, we got a couple of Polish people here talking about protected classes. It's unbelievable this is even happening. But I just, they started off with gypsies, non-residents, and then they went to the Jews, whatever happened there. And I tried to talk to my grandparents about it, and they were so upset they would not even talk about the distress of protected class issue. From my perspective, it was a protected class issue. And I do hope we could remove the definition, or the definition of student in our ordinance. It brings out a class of people. It brings out a class of people, and of course, negatively, we don't want them in our town, obviously. However, my Mary told me not to say this, and I wanted to say that, financially, we don't rent out to anyone more than 3 college students. So there's nothing with respect to college students. However, it really has an adverse effect here. Actually, my 3-bedroom ranch went from $300,000 to the latest offer of $661,000. That would prevent any family, I think, forever coming into Narragansett. And I really believe a lot of this is due to the college student enforcement here, rather than noise. Noise fines could have been increased, I hope, to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 with cost recovery, and we could accomplish that without a protected class definition. I would like that definition removed for the zoning, so there is no class distinction anywhere in our laws, anywhere. And right now it's caused trouble and preventing families from coming here. So there's a lot of negative effects that came from this protected class issue. However, the basic idea, where do we stop? All the summer residents, they're going to be protected class also. This is it just bothers me so much I have to talk about it, and I'm very sorry for disrupting you all, but it's a serious American issue. It's an issue about history, and I know very little about history, other than not protecting a class of citizens. To me, is so un-American. We must change our ordinance. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Stanley. Next, we have Ted DeStefano. Ted, please state your full name and address.
Hi, Jesse, Ted DeStefano, 94 Colonel John Gardner Road. I don't have the agenda in front of me, so maybe this should wait. I just wanted to give a brief message about the library. Shall I wait or?
If it's anything related to the motion tonight, which is the advance of 1.5 million for the project, then you can wait until that item. If it's unrelated to that, then you can speak.
Well, it's generally related, so I guess I should wait.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Ted.
Okay, thank you, Jesse.
All right, next we have Sue Amoruso. Please state your full name and address.
Jesse, I was just asked to unmute, but this is Dr. Alba, so I don't know if there was just a cross up.
Okay, we'll go ahead with you. Sue, if you still want to speak, just raise your hand again and we'll make sure to get to you. So Al, please state your full name and address.
Okay, Dr. Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I would like to applaud Dr. Jazerski, President Pugh, the entire town council, Mike DeLuca. I want to give all of you a pat on the back for putting together the Galilee proposal. You did an outstanding job. It's supported by the Friends of Galilee. You are our research studies. We have well over 2,800 signatures on a petition. I think it's the most viable plan. And as the doctor mentioned, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I also hope that we reach out now to the RIDEM, because I know time is of the essence. They're planning on making the decision and letting them know that we still strongly behind this proposal, that it's the only viable proposal. We saw what Proclamation has done. We do not need another seafood processing plant in Galilee. So maybe it'll be wonderful if the entire town council or the building planner, Mr. Michael DeLuca, can draft a letter with the help of James Callahan stating that, you know, we would like to know what the status is and if there's anything else we can do so that we are the winning proposal, we're willing to do so. So thank you very much, and thank you all for your service.
Thank you, Al. All right, next, Sue Amoruso. Sue, please state your full name and address.
All right, you can hear me now, right?
We can hear you, yep.
Okay, yeah, because that box didn't come up before. All right, Sue Amoruso, 111 West Bay Drive. Mine is a general library thing. It's more something that appeared in the Narragansett Times, and it kind of misrepresented my stance on cost, because the headline said, "Town must support new library regardless of cost." And a lot of people didn't take the time really to look at the letter, but saw my name and said, oh, so she just wants to spend. That had nothing to do really with my letter. I don't know why they chose that, because my letter dealt with that. Let's stop arguing over why things are costing more. You know, everyone can place blame on it, but my whole thing was to encourage people who may have been putting off donating to the library for one reason or another, just hadn't gotten around to it, that this is the time. And the time is because the library committee has been making cuts to the design to stay within the budget. And that was the crux of my letter. So I just wanted to clarify that to the town council and to maybe anybody out there in town council land, that headline really bothered me. And I did write to the Narragansett Times and I told them that that was not reflective of what I want. So basically, I'm just encouraging people, as I did in my letter to the editor, to please make your donations now so that more of the original design can be preserved, because they're definitely making cuts to stay within budget. So thank you for your time, and thank you for letting me straighten that out, hopefully.
Thank you, Sue. All right, anyone else from the public interested in speaking in public comment? Okay, doesn't look like it. So we'll move on to our, there was a hand. Karen? Okay, not a hand. I think that's been put down. Okay, there is a hand up. So let me go. All right, that hand's down too. All right, the joys of Zoom. All right, we'll go ahead and move to consent agenda. Are there any items from consent that any town council members would like to remove? All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopeck, aye.
and Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Under new business, number 8 is a motion to confirm.
Jesse, I request that we move up 19, 20, and 21 up the beginning of the meeting. There's no sense everybody being tortured all night. Let's get through the
Okay.
tough ones.
Okay, we can make a motion for that. I just
I'd
want
like to make a motion to move up 19, 20, and 21. Thank you.
All right, before we make the motion,
Yeah.
just want to point out one thing, and then we got a discussion. We have 9 minutes before our public hearing.
Yep.
So anything that we move up is going to get cut off at this point. We
Okay.
can get through a bunch of the regular agenda in the next 8 or 9 minutes.
Very good.
And then you can still make the motion after the public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, number 8, a motion to confirm the appointment of Stephen L. Dagnall Jr. as the Director of the Department of Public Works. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded
beat you there.
by-
I beat you.
Seconded by Patrick. You got the second in.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let Jim Tierney speak on this one. Town manager.
Good evening, everyone, at home and on the Zoom. Steve was the selected candidate for the position. There was no reason to go outside. He served as the acting director during Mike's absence, and he worked under Mike for years. He's the natural fit for it. He's the most qualified, most deserving, and as usual, it boosts morale when the promotions are internally in these organizations and these divisions where people tirelessly work and do it well. They should be rewarded, and he's well deserving of it. Steve's highly knowledgeable, highly responsive, and available anytime that the town needs him to step in. And thank you, Steve, and I love working with you, and congratulations.
Great, thank you, Jim. Any discussion from the council? Does anyone wish to speak?
Congrats.
I actually agree with Jim, the town manager. I think it's a good decision, been there since 2000. And I think you have demonstrated your hard work over the years, and I think you're a great fit. So I wish you the very best, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
No, just congratulations and good luck. Looking forward to working.
Best of luck, Steve.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely concur. It's kind of like a very easy call on this one. Steve's very deserving and highly qualified for the position. I've known you for, I think, 3 or 4 years now. One question I do have, it's totally my fault, and I can't remember this, but can you remind me how to pronounce your last name so I can get it
I
right?
was going to ask that.
Dano, like D-A-Y.
Oh, Dano.
Dano.
Like a
Alright.
French name. That's
It's
great.
a French name, so the
Yeah.
G and the LT are silent.
My
Thank
husband
you.
says virtually, 6 of every, 10 letters in a French word are silent. So,
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
can't speak a word of it, but
Dano,
It's
I
like
like it.
Target, Target.
All right, well, thank you for that. Appreciate that. And we're gonna go to the public and we'll come back to the vote. Looks like Stanley's hand is up. Stanley, please state your full name and address.
Yeah, I get that all the time with my last name for all my life, so I know how that is. Happy to see you come on. Obviously, you had a fantastic mentor there, under Detrico. He was so good at what he did. I know I gave him a few jabs on his trucks, but that had nothing to do with his performance, you know? I saw the lawns being cut out here. I saw the roads being taken care of. I just saw a very professional person out there, and I'm so happy that you're gonna follow right behind him, you know? Great to see you here. Welcome aboard. And I'll try not to I can give you a pain on the trucks in the future. Thank you.
That would be too much out of the norm if you did that.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment too.
Thanks, Stanley. Okay, and so this is on the item, this is for number 8, for the confirmation of this appointment. Looks like there's one other hand up, Ted DiStefano. Please state your full name and address.
Jesse, maybe I'm getting confused. I want to briefly talk about the library. So this is not.
Not now,
appropriate
Ted.
No,
Okay,
so we have
sorry
an item.
about that.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So when we get to number 19 on the agenda, that's the library item. So if you raise your hand during that item, it will make sure to call on you.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Thanks,
no problem. All right, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye. Congratulations.
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick. You're muted.
Patrick Murray, aye. Congrats.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Congrats,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thank you. All right, number 9 under community development is a motion to read, pass, and adopt as a second reading an ordinance and amendment of chapter 731 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled zoning, specifically text revisions to section 4.5, high water table limitations overlay district. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion, Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Eva. So we did the first reading last meeting. We do have Mike DeLuca here. If there's any other questions, nothing's changed. But any other questions or comments from the council? Nope. Mike, is there anything you wanted to add tonight?
No, Mr. President, just asking to have that ordinance adopted so we can clean up that error we've had. No changes, no concerns.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, and anyone from the public? All right, no hands are up. So all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 10 under community development is a motion to approve the filling of the planning technician in the community development department due to a resignation. Do we
I'll
have a
move the
motion?
motion.
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Eva. So this is just to approve the ability to fill this position. It's not approving a specific hire at this point, right? Correct, Mike?
Correct.
So any discussion or questions from the council? Okay, no hands up from the public. So all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. See if we could start one more here. Number 11 is a motion to award the bid for general construction services to the lowest bidder, Abcor Restoration Company, Incorporated, at their quoted bid prices for a 1-year period.
I'll move
Is
the
there a
motion.
Second.
Okay. So this is basically a renewal of the contract that we have with Abcor as a general contractor for the town. Any discussion, questions from the council? Questions for John? No? All right. Anyone from the public? All right, we have Ms. Celeberto. Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. I think this is a great approval. Mr. Escarbo always does a good job, and he contracts out at prevailing wage, which is always, my thing that I always want to make sure that happens. On his bid sheet, I want you to note something. Flooring, $68.38 is the prevailing wage. And I only bring this to your attention because there's another item on the agenda that I want to speak to, which is it's really much more than this amount, and I have a concern about it. And this is why I'm just drawing this to your attention, because Mr. Lescabo always contracts out a prevailing wage. And I just want you to note that amount so that when I speak later, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Okay, any other comments from the council? All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
And Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye. Congrats.
Jesse PUI, motion approved 5-0. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to our public hearing for tonight. I just want to check with, make sure that our stenographer is ready. Lisa, everything all set?
Yep, ready to go.
All right, great. Sounds good. All right, do we have a motion to open and hold a public hearing on the application of the Bike Stop Cafe Incorporated, doing business as the Bike Stop Cafe, for the possible expansion of their Class B victualler limited alcoholic beverage license to a Class B victualler alcoholic beverage license at Assessor's Plat D, Lot 184A, 148 Boone Street, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on the Bike Stop for the vehicular license limited to expansion.
Okay. What's
That's
so
what
funny?
those two licenses are. Yeah.
Right.
Second.
Do it a second.
Second.
All right, seconded by Patrick. So the public hearing is open. Before we go to the applicant, were there any questions from the council or comments?
No, I just, I'm certainly in favor of the expansion. I just saw that in the application, it said no outside service at all. Is that still the way it's presented? No outside service?
I'm not
11:30.
sure. I mean, we have the applicant on, so we'll hear
Okay.
from her. And,
All right, so that's fine. We'll wait and see if she addresses it.
because Janet would probably have had an answer for that. But Sarah, do you know anything about it?
So the no outside service was part of the special use permit that was just granted to the Bike Stop for the expansion of the license on November 24th of 2021. So that would be part of the restrictions, is that no outside service of alcohol.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Great job.
Zoom answering the questions is beautiful.
Good start by Sarah tonight.
Yeah, Sarah's doing well.
Any other comments before we bring on the applicant? Okay. All right. Looks like we have Casey Montanari's hands up. So Dan, can you move her over? All right, Casey, we're going to have the town solicitor swear you in.
Hi, Casey. Can you, I don't think I can see you, but can you please raise your right hand? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can now. Did you hear me?
Okay. I lost you for a second. Yes,
I'll just say it again. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Casey Montanari, 21 Checkerberry Trail, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, James. So Casey, if you want to just go ahead and give us just a quick summary of the expansion, what you're looking to do.
Yeah. So I want to start by thanking the council and all the residents of Narragansett. Everybody's been awesome through the whole pandemic. We really never wanted to have a bar, and we still don't want to be a bar. But one thing the pandemic has shown us is that food is really perishable, and we have to bring in the extra money where we can. So we're not looking to extend our hours or anything like that. We're just looking for the ability to serve drinks to our customers while they're waiting or while they're eating.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go around the council. They'll have the chance to ask any questions. Susan, any questions for Casey?
No, I don't have any questions. I support it totally, Casey. You've done a great job at the bike stop. The food's excellent. And I think you deserve what other businesses have, and that's an expansion of your license. So I absolutely approve.
All right, Eva, anything to say?
No questions.
Okay, Deb
No questions. Good luck, Casey.
and Patrick.
Luck, have a successful 2022.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions either. I know your establishment pretty well. You guys have been serving beer and wine for a while. There's never been any issues. You have really great reputation in the community in general. So I think it's good to get be able to expand a little bit and offer just an expanded liquor menu. So Casey, was there anything else before we move to other members of the public?
Yeah, am I still on?
You're still on, yeah?
You can hear me. One thing I do have a question of is when we first got our beer and wine license, we were before the council with a couple of different groups that were applying for the same type of thing. And they granted us all the ability for solo acoustic music. Like I said before, I'm not looking to extend our hours, so we're not looking to ever be open till 1 o'clock. But I would like the option every once in a while, if it's something that could be done, to have like, say, a band on a Sunday afternoon or something like that. We've always been very conscientious about the fact that we're kind of a business in a residential neighborhood. Anytime we've ever even had the solo acoustic music, I actually go outside to the street and make sure that it's not too loud out there. And I just didn't know if this was the time to ask for that now, or if that's a separate application.
Well, Casey, it's already in the packet because it says light acoustic, so it's part of the agreement to affirm it. Yeah, so it's already in there. It's listed with no outside, light acoustics, 11:30. It says it all in there. So we have that package. So we're agreeing to that unless there's an objection, right, Jesse?
Yeah, sorry, I might have misunderstood. Casey, were you saying you were looking to do something else?
Yes, I wanted to see if it was possible to have it in there to be more than solo acoustic. And like I said, if it's an issue and I have to do a separate thing, I can do that at a later date. I just thought because initially when we did the beer and wine, they put the solo acoustic in there, that this might be the time to ask.
So James, I don't know if this is a question for James or for Sarah, but I know that we have amended or expanded the restrictions on licenses, or basically just changed restrictions on the fly as we made approvals. Is that the case in this, or is going to amplify music, is that a bigger deal where that would be a separate hearing as it wasn't really advertised?
I think if it has to be more, if it's going to be more than, it's going to be like a band playing with charged admission, things like that, would probably have to be on the agenda, advertised. But this says light acoustic music such as a guitar player. I don't think that restricts bike stop specifically to just a guitar player. So
Jesse, in the other, for instance, in the other hotels, yeah, James is right. As long as it's not the difference is amplification, not number of people. So usually those are a separate application if they want amplified music.
Okay.
But the solo part, Casey, the solo part isn't really the condition. It's really the amplification. That's the condition.
Okay. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. That clarifies a lot because I was always under the impression it was solo. And even when we do something, like I said, we are in a residential neighborhood and we get that. So I don't want to have any issues with it. But that does take care of that. And on a separate note, just while I'm on here, I know that the library is on later and I brought this up before, but any type of fundraising that you guys need, please feel free to reach out to us too, because I know a lot of the businesses in town would like to help.
Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. All right, sounds good. So Casey, that's fine. So we kind of asked all our questions. We're going to go ahead and move over to other members of the public. So it looks like we have Stanley Wojciechowski. Stanley, the solicitor is going to go ahead and swear you in.
Stanley, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Stan Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road, Narragansett.
Thank you.
I just wanted to request that this be approved. You know, we need to help our businesses. I've driven by there many times. It just looks like a great place. And it sounds like it's gonna get approved, but I just wanted to add a boy. Let's give her more that she can use to improve her business and stay in business. And it provides a service to our town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanley. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? All right. I do see a hand up from the panelists. Oh, that's just Casey's hand from earlier. So it looks like that's it. Unless there's anything else, any council members want to add? Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the bike stop liquor license.
Is that the right way? Maybe I said it
No,
wrong.
I don't know. I'm just following you, boss.
Second. Close it.
All right. All right. We have a second for Patrick. All in favor? Starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva.
Aye.
Deb.
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye. Congrats.
Well, we still have to vote, but we are making progress with closing it. Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Next, we have a motion to.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the
All right,
expansion. I'm going to try to read this. The expansion of the Class B vehicular limited alcohol license to just the Class B vehicular. So it's going from limited to Class B, right? Sarah, help me out. Is that correct? Okay. Thanks.
Second.
Susie, could you read the whole motion?
A motion to.
Actually, let me go ahead and read it, and then we
I
can.
thought she was done.
No, we have to read the whole thing.
Read it.
This is for a vehicular license, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Victualler.
I'm kidding.
It's such a tricky word, Jesse.
A motion to approve, deny the do we have a motion to approve the expansion of a full Class B victualler alcoholic beverage with noted restrictions for the Bike Stop Cafe Incorporated, doing business as Bike Stop Cafe, the Assessor's Plat D, Lot 184A, 148 Boone Street, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? All right, discussion.
Jesse, just one thing, sorry. I think that there's a typo in that. I think it's 184A, the plat. Sorry.
Right, yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
just
it's
read
just,
that again?
right, just make sure it's lot 184-A, so that's just a typo, sorry.
Okay, a motion to approve the expansion to a full Class B victualler alcoholic beverage license with noted restrictions for the Bike Stop Cafe Incorporated, doing business as Bike Stop Cafe at Assessor's Plat D, Lot 184A, 148 Boone Street, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations.
I'll make.
We
the
have a motion?
Yeah.
All right,
I'll
is there a
make-
second?
Second.
Discussion?
Maybe stopping by there after this meeting.
All in favor? Starting with
Susan
Susan.
Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Congrats to Casey and Brendan over there. We are on we're gonna go to number 12. Which
Can
is a
we
motion-
move?
All right, go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, can we move 19, 20, and 21 up? I think we'll thin out the crowd here. Let people go home.
All right, so you have a motion to move up 19, 20, and 21. Is there a second?
I'll make the second. I'll
Okay,
second that.
discussion.
So
All right.
I remember like one time I tried moving some of our council agenda up to the top, and I was told by Councilwoman Susan Bonanno that we should keep it as is because there's a lot of people that know the format of our agenda, and they know when certain items are coming up, and they may be tuning in later. So That's my concern.
I mean, I kind of agree, Ever. I did say that. It's just, I don't know. It seems like, Patrick, what's your big rush to get him up to the front? Because I was going to try to support you as a colleague because do you have some information that?
Well, I just think a lot of the crowd I see here are concerned with these three issues. We might as well just get it out of the way.
How does the rest of the council feel?
I feel like we could get through the rest of this agenda in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we
So
might
we
as well
can-
just do it.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, all right. So that's fair enough.
I
That's
agree.
fine.
I mean, it is, people do come on later and stuff. I mean, it is a concern. I'm not a big fan of moving it up. I just didn't know if you had a rationale, so. All right, so we'll just keep going, Patrick?
Let's go.
All right.
Rock
go
and
ahead.
roll.
All right, there we go.
Okay, number 12 is a motion to approve the change order to Associated Electromechanics for repair of the pump in the amount of $9,985 and approve the purchase of replacement parts from Aqua Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $23,034.40. Do we
I'll
have a
move the
motion?
motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, anyone from the public? All right, no hands. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Banano, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
Patrick Murray,
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 13, under Parks and Rec, is a motion to approve the request from the Narragansett Lions Club for its annual Blessing of the Fleet Seafood Festival to be held on Thursday, July 28th, Friday, July 29th, and Saturday, July 30th, 2022, at Veterans Memorial Park and Gazebo Park, subject to state and local regulations.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Or any questions for Michelle? Okay. Michelle, is there anything that you wanted to speak on?
No, sir. The annual event, we all know how it runs. It's a great time of year, and I look forward to that warmer weather.
Yes. All right, thank you. Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Banano, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick,
Patrick Murray,
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 14 is a motion to approve the request from the Narragansett Lions Club for their annual 10-mile road race to be held on Friday, July 29th, 2022, from 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., subject to state and local regulations. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Banano, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick,
Patrick Murray,
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. And then number 15 for Parks and Recreation is a motion to waive the current policy and authorize the use of the general construction services contract with Avcor Restoration Company Incorporated for the design and construction of a permanent roof structure on the deck of the Canachet North Beach Clubhouse in the amount of $184,400. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Seconded by Eva. Do we have any comments or questions? And we do have Michelle here. Any specific questions? Susan?
No, I guess I just had one quick question. So usually you would put that out. Why is it at that price? You're just going with Avcor? They're just a selected. I mean, they're fabulous. I love them. They do great work. Is that why? Because they did this north and the south. And so I just want to reaffirm their excellence.
And I completely agree with you, Susan. Again, I would never skirt the bid process ever. I know the policies in place that we have in town. Unfortunately, we have a time constraint issue. Our first wedding is April 1st. And that's truly the only reason why we're attempting to get approval this way from you council members. Again, I have to reiterate, I would never skirt the bid process at all. I firmly believe in that, and also fair wages, et cetera. But we need to get this project done. We need to get it moving. if my fear is that if we don't get this approved, I'm not sure exactly how our brides and our other event people are going to take the fact that they don't have the cover of a tent in the heat, in the inclement weather, etc. And as you know, the money that we hope to use for this project is money that I'll be hopefully laterally transferring that was already approved by the council for renovations at the South Pavilion lockers. So again, I'm hoping to just use some of that money for this project. And again, the only reason going this route is because of our time constraint.
All right, any other questions, Susan?
No, that was good. Thanks, Michelle.
Eva, Deborah, Patrick?
I'm in a place where I can't, for some reason, I'm having problems here in Ukraine. So I just had a question. Is it steel construction?
So it is. And I'll kind of give you a breakdown of exactly what the construction entails. It'll be a 36 by 36 construction. So basically it's going to go from the exterior kitchen wall to the existing overhang that we have. Will be a fully spanned flat roof with a slight pitch at the exteriors with a low slope. It'll be super steel construction supported by the existing pilings. And then the trim will match all of the existing trim, as well as the balustrade currently on the top of the roof. And that's kind of the Widow's Peak looking white structure that's currently in place. That will extend completely around the entire new roof. So again, when you look at the North Beach Clubhouse, you really won't see too much of a change. Only when you come around to the side of the building will you see the structure itself. Because again, it won't be a pitched roof, it'll be a flat roof that will extend to the existing overhang.
All right. Yeah, I apologize for this. Okay. All right. I just thank you. I'm all set.
So I think Deb and Eva, you guys were good with questions, or did you have any questions? Okay.
I have I'm just, I understand what you're saying, Michelle, about the time, constraint that you have. I wonder who would actually be outside on April 1st for a wedding, but whatever. But I do have some concerns about the idea of not bidding out $184,000 worth of work. So can you just give me an idea of what the time frame would be if we did have to do that, and what impact that would have on the weddings for this spring?
Well, we could do a rushed bid. I did speak with Susan Gallagher, our purchasing manager, about that. In fact, today, it's a possibility. But again, it would be rushed, and something of this magnitude, I would hate to see a rushed bid, because there's going to be a lot of questions. And I do believe that engineering would have to get completely involved with the structural plans to be able to put that out to bid. The second option that I had discussed with the purchasing manager was potentially asking Pronzi, which was a company that had also been part of the tent bid previously. That bid has now expired, possibly reaching out to them, either trying to renew that bid for a short term period of time to get us, hopefully, into the wedding season, having brides being able, and other, events being able to have cover from, the sun and or inclement weather. So those are two areas that we discussed as well, if this does not pass.
Okay. I have that concern. So, I mean, I read everything, and I didn't like the, the idea that tents can blow down and cause
Yeah.
damage. On the one hand, on the other hand, I think that's a lot of money not to. Well, did you go out to bid for the cabanas when the cabanas were redone?
Yes, we did. Yes.
Yeah, and how much? That was a lot more money.
That was about 1.4 million.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's all I wanted to ask. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Deb. Michelle, one question I have. So if we were to hold off on this to get bids and go with a tent rental to bridge that gap in time, what's like a ballpark cost for a tent rental?
It's usually about $2,000, depending on the size of the tent. So I would think it would be a 36 by 36 tent or a 20 by 30 tent, depending on what the individual wanted to, what size tent the individual wanted to purchase, because I believe they would have a couple of different options on the size of the tent. So, and again, we would put that out to bid for the various different tent sizes that we could offer. And then of course, when the bid came back, whoever was the low bidder, we hopefully would go with that company, as long as they provided all the documentation and liability insurance. And that's another thing we would strongly have to look at, is the specific wording with the liability insurance, to basically have a demand statement that the tents must be taken down in the event of inclement weather and or potential high winds and storms, because that's the problem that we had with the previous tent company. Is even though we knew storms were coming and we asked them to take the tent down, on the one occasion the tent was only dropped, which caused the significant damage to the deck at the North Beach Clubhouse. And then the second storm was just high winds and rain, where the tent basically failed and collapsed and caused the damage that it did.
Okay, and is the tent rental per event? Is that a per event charge?
Well, it's an option. Not all people decide to rent a tent, but most do, especially for the wedding events that we have at the North Beach Clubhouse.
That's a cost that's passed on to the.
It is. It's a cost.
Right?
Correct.
Right. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So for the April event, did the town promise the party that there would be a new structure built?
No, sir. At this point, all booked events have been, and the people that have booked them have been notified that, again, we don't have an existing tent company at this point. We're hoping to rectify the situation by a permanent structure. And then again, our second plan would be, if it didn't pass, then again, we would try to go out for some type of short-term bid for a tent company. But again, with that strong language that, again, the tents have to be taken down if a storm's coming, and get those protective measures in place to keep that building safe, and also the people around it.
Okay, gotcha. And sorry, I know this might be in the packet, but I'm just going to ask anyway. This would be enclosed or just the roof cover?
It would just be a roof, sir. Just be a roof structure.
Just a roof structure. Okay. All right. Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome.
All right. If there's no other comments from the council.
This is just a little tough, Michelle, because it's your time versus waiving the policy. And you, as the director, is saying that you need the time. So you want us to waive the bidding process, which is, I understand. So I get it.
I would just only have to add is that being that now we've had 2 significant incidents regarding tents that have been left up, seeing the damage that they've caused, that is a great concern for me, for the safety of not only potential patrons that might be in the area, guests that might be under a tent, and just the damage to the building. That's my main concern. I'm really concerned about any more tents being put up at the venue.
Well, so I think the structure is a great idea. I just, have some concern about not putting out to bid.
Sure. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we go ahead and go to the public? We'll come back and get more comments from the council, but we do have some hands up. We'll start with Catherine Celeberto. Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. With all due respect to Ms. Kershaw, these incidents happened last summer, according to her narrative, summer of 2021. So she really had ample time to put this out to bid between then and now. I'm no concern about Mr. Lescarbo and Abcor. They do a great job. I'm hoping the town is going to find some money so he can stabilize the Earls Court water tower before it falls down. But this is $184,400 that you're talking about not bidding. And I'm really concerned about that. You're also talking about, this is a huge cost, which if there is a structure built, it's going to alleviate this cost from the renters. We already charge a very reasonable amount to rent a venue right on the beach. The other side of this, if you're renting a venue on the beach, don't you expect that there's going to be some sun? We have been so good to these people, contracting for tents and everything else that we do. When I was reading the narrative, and Michelle had written that some people get upset that the tent is not included, I really don't have any sympathy for these people. You're getting a venue on the beach. That said, again, it's the $184,000 not being put out and giving other companies a chance to bid. We're coming out of COVID. I'm sure a lot of companies have lost business, good companies out there, and they may want to bid. And to recoup this money, the fee is going to have to be raised quite a bit. And I think that is going to turn people away, those people who don't opt for a tent because they can't afford a tent. And there may be residents in town who are going to not be able to rent this venue because the cost is going to become prohibitive. There's just so many things involved in this. But okay, just let me focus on the bid part. Not putting out $184,000 project to bid and giving it to Abcor, who already does a lot of work for the town. And he does a good job. That's not the problem. It's just the appearance, I think, could be an issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next, we have William Gardner. William, please state your full name and address.
William Gardner, 40 Kinney Avenue, Narragansett. Originally, I was just going to make a comment on this, that this would have been a perfect place for a solar installation. And since we're considering a number of issues, and since the beach itself is probably the major recipient of all the climate issues that are going on right now, I think the problem as enumerated was a $2,500 problem. You had the $100,000 covered by insurance. You had the $2,500 that was not covered by insurance, which if it was the fault of a supplier of ours, why didn't they pay the $2,500? And then if we're going to do stuff with urgency to just be in the wedding business, shouldn't we be thinking about what the long-term effect of these large projects are? And if we can, you could easily put 30 or 40,000 kilowatt hours of solar on there and actually pay for all the electricity for the complete beach for the year. And when a lot of these things that come up on the town council, we have these projects that look like people don't include everything that they should into them. So So I think, we're taking a problem that happened once, and then the reaction is to all, throw $200,000 at it. And there's no payoff number. So like if we spent 200,000, how many years will it take before we recoup that $200,000? And will it actually happen? And in the scope of everything, I think everything in this town, we should be looking every major project. Are they being done efficiently, and are they being done effectively in some type of, long-term view or vision for our town? And I think the beach would be a great place to make a statement about the town's commitment to a better environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Next, we have Stanley Wojciechowski. Stanley, please state your full name and address.
Stan Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I don't know the specific project, so I really can't comment on the plus or minus, but I want to thank everybody for paying attention to bidding. We can try our best in the future to try and satisfy the bidding process when all possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanley. Okay, looks like that's it from the public. We're gonna go back to the council for continued discussion. Any thoughts? Susan?
I'm really struggling with this. I mean, it's a really tough one. I mean, Catherine Celeberto is resonating in my ears saying, I mean, the bidding process is really important, but yet I understand the directors and a time crunch. It is 184. It's tough. I just want to hear from my colleagues where they are on this.
Okay, thanks, Susan. Eva?
Right. I mean, the optics don't look good, but I do support Michelle, as this is an extenuating circumstance. And I know moving forward, I'm sure this won't happen again. But there is a time crunch. And again, I don't have an issue with it this time.
All right, thanks, Eva. Deb?
Well, just another point that I was thinking about was, are we going to increase the fees as a result of this to, offset the cost?
We are. Now, the fee structures are currently in place right now, but I have been discussing with Daisy, and actually we had been talking about increasing the fees a few months ago because we haven't had an increase in quite a few years ago. That has been a topic of discussion between myself and Daisy.
So would we charge, I mean, if it was $2,000 for, I guess, the larger tent, would we charge an equivalent price, or would it be less than that?
Well, it's all going to depend on what if we do have to go with another bid to put out for a tent company. It all depends what the bids come back at. I don't know exactly what the cost will be from the bidder.
I mean, I didn't mean for the tents. I meant for if we install this roof, we increase the fees. Are we going to increase the fees to incorporate the cost of that? Because I was just doing some quick math, and I mean, at $2,000, it would be 92 events, or 92 probably weddings. I don't know if we would do it for smaller events, but I mean, that return on investment's relatively quick. I would think maybe 4 years or so.
And
so
that's what we would hope. We would hope within at least a 5-year time frame. And again, we certainly don't want to say that, we're going to increase the fees for residents by $500 and non-residents by $1,000. But I think a couple of $100 on each end, I think, would be appropriate. And again, we've been discussing this for a couple of months as well anyway, because we have felt a need with the upkeep of the building alone, the need for the increase in the rental fees.
And the average number of events a year is what?
30.
No,
it's more than that. It's more than that.
It's much more than that. In fact, I think you were
like 60.
Much more. And I'm sorry, I don't have that number right now.
Yeah, I just saw it. I might have it.
Yeah, but so as soon as we get into May, late April, early May, And I'm sorry, Miss McLeod is getting back to me. It's over 100 events.
Yeah, so I have
It's
101 from the
Thank
last
you.
list that I have. Yeah.
Right. So again, come, in season, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is booked at the North
Right.
Beach Clubhouse. And then Mondays and Tuesdays, because again, midweek weddings, parties, retirement gatherings are all becoming very popular as well.
It's a lot of weddings, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, okay. All right.
All right, I had a couple more questions.
Patrick.
Michelle, did John, the town engineer, did he vet this at all, or?
Yes, sir. Oh, and here's
Right.
John, my savior. So I did, I believe that the town council president had met with the town manager in preparation of this meeting, and they asked that I try to get a drawing, a rendering of exactly what the structure would look like. And our town engineer, John Gerhardt, assisted me with that. And I believe you were supposed to get that in your package. I'm not sure if you did not. I thought.
Yeah, I'm stuck. For some reason, I can't pull up anything, and I'm surprised I haven't got pushed off this Zoom meeting.
It's not in the packet, as far as I can see. But I don't know if John has it. He can share his screen, I guess.
Well, John, do you have it, John?
I don't have it on my laptop here. I could see, I might be able to pull it up.
Well, I had a couple questions.
But just real quick on, Michelle did come and speak to me on this, and I fully supported her. I understood the issue, and I fully supported this procedure here to make this happen quickly and be able to seamlessly go into their next rental season, given the issues we've had with the tents and the structures. I think, I'm not sure when I think the Rhode Island Rentals went out of business. So that was part of the issue. I'm not sure if we just lost the contractor or we're at the end of a contract season, but with Abcor, they're familiar with the facility. They've done work before. They know what they're doing. This is a design build contract. There's no set of plans for it, which is what Michelle came and asked to look for, or asked some help with. I'm going to see if I can find some of that for you. With Abcor, I've done several projects since I've been here with them, and there's never been a change order. He gives you a price and that's it. And basically, I believe some of the paperwork in your packet is, the bottom line is whatever it takes to get the job done is what gets the job done. And that's, they know what they're doing. And again, they have a design build portion of it. And that's, we know what we're going to get with them, and they committed to getting this project done immediately with the I'm sorry, I'm just trying to call up the drawing here if I can get it up, and then whether Dan can have me save or have me share my screen.
John, I get $141 a square foot. You think that's a reasonable price for a project of this type?
Well, I'm not familiar with, intimately familiar with current construction costs and the like. But again, this is going to be a flat roof with a steel, I believe, a steel truss kind of superstructure that they'll need to come in. He's got $7,000 or $8,000 or something, maybe $5,000 or $6,000 for engineering work in there. But everybody knows, and I know you'll see it in one of the other items tonight about the cost of construction is going up and going up. With that aspect, we understand, we know everyone's discussed that Abcor is a good contractor, reliable contractor. We know his wages. He has to submit certified payroll for this project, so we know the wages that are going to be there. I'm sure he would provide some. He could be willing to provide some, material backup for some of his invoices if you would ask him. But again, to get it done quickly and easily.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to support something I haven't seen, because it's maybe my own fault. I should investigate it more or look at this earlier. But I've been here, half the day here and I couldn't get out and I just couldn't, for some reason, I can't pull up each motion. You can pull up each motion. I can usually scan it and make an opinion pretty quick, but so you got low profile. I'm assuming you got low profile. I guess they're aluminum truss.
It would be a steel. I believe a steel truss. Like I said, the questions I had for when Michelle brought the proposal over were twofold. One is, does he need to do any work below, underneath? And we've got the pilings there he'll be able to support off of. And exactly what's his plan, which is a flat roof. Essentially, it's a design build where they'll come in and he'll bring his engineer in, get a look at it, what he's got to do with the superstructure, do the design work for that, and then design to the wind and snow loads that he's has to design to.
So he's going to tie it into the pilings holding up the building and the deck.
He'll tie into the building,
holding up the deck
at two locations, and then he'll tie into the deck.
Right.
Dan, if I can share my screen,
you should be all set.
All right, let me see what I can do, and I want to share this. All right, can everybody see that? I gotta move this around. Put this away, and if we go up. All right. I want this page, damn it. Sorry. What's going on here? Something is happening with this. Is not really cooperating. Stop. Apologize for this. Single pane. There we go. Now we want to scroll up. Okay, this is an overhead view and shows the plan of the location of the deck, which essentially is it's where the building has an opening at that rear deck, right. 36 by 36 space there. So that just gives you an idea from the back, which, if you're familiar with that, that's, the tents have been up there previously in the past, I think, and people know where that is. Here's a view of the rear of the building without it. And when Michelle came to me, I said the easiest, quickest way to do this was to just try to draw a little schematic view here of what it might look like. Now, Patrick, this doesn't show any of the structural
right. Yep.
for the inside, but on the fly with using a PDF editor and no graphics, that's what I came up with. So that gives you an idea what it is. You can see, I'm not sure how many columns he's going to need. He'll definitely need one at that front quarter, whether he can span the whole width with everything without those intermediate columns, I'm not sure. But again, he's got to have an engineer design all that work. And really it's the issue is like you said, there's the threshold in our general maintenance contracts throughout the town of when we can just contract with the bidders, whether it's $4,000 or $6,000, like we just bumped it up for our utility contractor. And then there's the other threshold of $50,000, which comes to, which is for where would be normally bid out and just seek the town council's approval. So, and again, I think that number is starting to get smaller, covering less and less and less of contract work here. Granted, this particular project is over 3 times that amount, but from the standpoint of the need to get it done, to provide a permanent solution for the issue we've had with the tent and the damage that we've had recently, and to get it done quickly, I supported Parks and Recs department's decision to try and move in this direction, and provided what assistance I could to Michelle.
Okay, I got one more question. Is this rated for up to a certain amount of wind?
Yeah, that'll.
Like, can it take a storm warning?
Because
this is something you can't take down, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this will have to go. Keith will have to come up with a set of plans to go through the building officials department. The structural engineer will design it for the snow and roof loads, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where, and again, in terms of the expediency and the delay, like I said, we don't have a set of design plans. So that one option would be we could go out to bid. We could solicit architects to design the structure. Then we would, and that would take, a couple of months to get the architect on board. And then they would need to come up with a design for do and the like, and then we would go out to bid with a second contract after they put the plans together and the like. But this will be designed in accordance with all the building codes and the snow and wind loading requirements and everything that needs to be done for its location.
And what's the wind rating or something like this? I know the windows need to be 200 mile an hour.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's 125 mile an hour wind gust or what they are out there, but whatever the code is what it would be.
25, huh? Because
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, top of my head, Patrick, I just don't know. I'm sorry.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Let's see if I can unshare. Here we go. Does anybody else need this graphic before I take it down?
Nope. All right, Patrick, are you all set with your questions?
I'm all set, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John, for sharing those.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think everyone's spoken. So I think the question now for the council is the priority to get this done for this season? Because if we go out to bid, it's not going to happen for this summer wedding season. It's going to have to wait because you're not going to build this in the middle of the season. So it's either happening now before April, or we go out to bid, take our time, work on designs, and this happens next year. And how important is it for it to happen right now? I think that's kind of the question. How severe is the problem? We've had this clubhouse for years, decades, and nothing's really changed. I mean, obviously we had some issues with the weather this last year. However, we've managed to live with this for a while. We have the insurance. So do we kind of rush it or do we not rush it? I think that's kind of the question that we have for ourselves. So good points all around. I think I'm
I keep going back and forth.
I am going back and forth too.
So one question that I have is, if we decide to put this out to bid, meaning that we probably wouldn't get it done for this season, are you confident, Michelle, that we can get a contract with a tent guy?
Well, I can't say with full confidence because I just don't know. We've got to put it out to bid, and we'd have to check with Pronzi to see if they were still in the business. I know Rhode Island Rentals has gone out of business. And I believe there's only two companies that really are in the tent business, and that would be Newport Tent and Pronzi. So again, we would have to put it out to bid and see what happens.
So I have a question too. So I know we're ultimately the decision makers, but I just wanted to get Jim's thoughts on it. Jim, do you have any thoughts on this project?
I spoke to Michelle about it, about the issues that were occurring before, and the long-term goal was to have something like this put in place eventually. I certainly understand the council's concerns about waiving the procurement process for it. And whatever the council decides, we would certainly move expeditiously forward, whether it's approved or not. And if it's not approved, and if it were to be amended for something else, then we would start acting immediately on it. But the project itself, I do believe, needs to be done at some point.
Were there any other options for Michelle that you considered in terms of like the tents?
Was that for Michelle?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Michelle. Yeah, so Michelle, are there other opportunities for just different applications for like a non-permanent pen or
no, we did. Well, we thought about a retractable coming off of that kitchen wall. But again, our concerns again with wind loads and how that would totally work, especially if it was some type of awning type material. We kind of weighed the options and thought that may not be a good idea for this structure as well, again, with the elements that are out there every day. So other than this permanent structure, no, at this point, we're not considering any other options.
Thank you.
All right.
I mean, so many good points. I mean, we don't want to waive the bidding process if it's not a real immediate need. And so, Jesse, your point is we've lived with it the way it is for some time. Patrick didn't get to see the design and stuff. So I'm just.
Well, I see the design, but the thing is, I mean,
We don't have any data.
it just seems like it's kind of rushed. And the thing is, you build something flat. I mean, that's just begging to be ripped off. You know how the winds get down there.
Yeah. So
I like to see. I'd like to see how he's gonna mount it to the pilings. I mean, this is something that PSI comes into play, and and to rush it and 184,000. I mean, if we can get by with some tents until we can, hack out a plan that's viable, then I'd probably be on board with it because it's coming out of the enterprise fund, correct? It's just that I'd hate to see us race right through it and we hit the first big old spring storm and zip that thing right off like a can opener,
And it's not town practice to waive the bidding process. That's the biggest thing. Like, do we need to do that today? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we need to make a decision here. Lots of good points, but why don't we go ahead and take the vote?
Why don't we do this? Why don't we pass on this until this guy can show us a plan with some kind of rating to it and run it through the building inspector's office and see what they say, and then it can come back and we support it or not support it.
Right, but we need to give actual direction because Michelle needs to know our position now so she can move forward in one direction or another. So if we vote, if it gets approved, they go ahead. If we vote no, then she goes to the bidding process, right? That would be the default move to do if we vote no, because this motion is to waive the policy. If we don't waive it, we need to go to bid.
Right. And that's correct. So again, we do have this time constraint. So if we need to, if my office needs to come up with an alternate plan, for example, trying to get a new tent bid, then again, that urgency needs to happen as well.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call the vote.
Okay.
Hold
Okay,
on.
here I go. I went back and forth a million times. Susan Cicilline Bonanno, nay.
Eva,
Wojciechowski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopeck, nay.
Patrick.
No bull chance and hell yeah, nay. Me and Susan.
All right, Jesse, Pugh, no. So motion
Thanks, Patrick.
fails.
So we wanted to, but you understand.
Sorry, Michelle.
Sorry, Michelle.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
we're gonna move on. We are on number.
It was
6.
zipping right through these there, Jesse. Zipping
Well,
right through.
I think if you watch the video, you'll see that you spoke the most on this item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Number
Patrick.
16 is a motion to approve the upgrades to the fuel island and monitoring system at the Public Works Department to be completed by Trask Petroleum Equipment Company pursuant to the Sourcewell contract in the amount of $195.59.
I'll
Do we have
move
a
the
motion?
motion.
All right, discussion, questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
I do too. You want to go
Yeah.
first, Patrick?
Where's Steve at?
I'm right
He's
here.
there.
Oh, there he are. I'm right in the
Look
hot
out.
seat here. Okay, listen, geez, a couple of years ago, didn't we clean up that area? We had a spill or something and we cleaned it all up and reconstituted that tank and the overhang and all that because somebody ran into it or something. Why don't you give us a little update?
Back in 2008-ish, we had someone run into the canopy with a truck with the body in the air, took the canopy down. So that was an insurance claim. We had a new canopy installed with a new footing around the two pillars.
Right.
And then about 4 years ago, we replaced the fuel tanks. The fuel tanks were steel. They had an outer catchment system that was rotted out. So we replaced those with precast concrete, sitting on top of the ground, ready to go. Those are good for a while. This is phase 2 of that project. It's the pipes going from the tanks to the pumps, the dispensing pumps, the filters, and also the system that reads the meters. It's called the I can't think of it. It's just
It's a
the
smart system. It's a smart system.
It's a smart system. It's the fuel fob system. So that system is out of date now, and there are no more updates available for it. So we need to also upgrade that system as well, because the software is dinosaur. So
antiquated.
Right. So all that stuff needs to be replaced. It's the second part. We budgeted for this, and it's within budget.
Right.
Now, are those infrastructure? So
yeah, are those pipes overhead or underground?
they're underground. The initial,
underground.
When we first proposed this project, there was talk of putting pipes overhead, but there's really not proven to be any more resilient to the weather being in the air versus underground. So they use a double line pipe that's insulated in fiberglass outer protector to keep
protect the environment.
Right, keeps it from deteriorating and leaking.
Heat, frost. Got it.
Right, and we are able to reduce some costs by doing the concrete cutting and some of the excavation work with the company ourselves. So we're able to save a little bit of money there.
Yeah, I guess we don't want to put them overhead in case somebody comes by with a truck again and the bed. Yeah,
that's right. So
yes, okay.
Try to keep it safe.
Thank you. Thanks for the update.
Deb, you had a question?
Actually,
you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood the funding because it, and I think it's just a complicated thing that I don't understand. So, when I actually looked to see if there were, capital funds available, and in my book it says no, but I think if I understand it correctly, there's previous funding that wasn't used. Do I have that right, Christine?
Correct.
And so I can't see those dollars, but they exist, right? And they cover the cost of this whole thing?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Just,
yes,
I wanted to be sure.
After the audit, we roll over any leftover carryover capital project funds, and we just finished our audit and we're in the process of doing that.
Okay.
So, the department head checks, make sure there's enough money, and then I'm a second check to make sure there are funds available for these types of projects.
It might be helpful in the motions to just note that, just so that it's not, I don't always go check on these things, but when I do, it makes me a little nervous. So I'm all for the project. I think it sounds wonderful, but I just wanted to make sure the funding was there. So thank you.
Sure, I'll make a note of that. Thank you.
Sure, and if that's something we want in the future, then just if we can get that, concrete, and we can do that for every item on the agenda, then we'll know.
Okay.
We can do that. Okay.
We'll make it concrete.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good show. Very good show. Great job.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Anyone from the public? All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Straczynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Next, under Public Works, number 17 is a motion to approve the purchase and installation of vinyl plank flooring for the engineering, human resources, boardrooms, community development, and town manager's office at Town Hall from Shaw Contract Group in the amount of $102,730,092 pursuant to the Sourcewell contract. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, any questions?
So they're going to the vinyl plank floors as opposed to the rug. Just curious, is it gonna be noisy or is it gonna, I mean, was that suggested carpet? So, I mean, I don't know. Who wants to speak to that?
So
Steve?
Susan, we did this flooring system in finance last year when we did the remodel, and it was welcomed by all because you don't have all the dander and stuff floating around that you get with carpets. It's not loud at all. Christine has it in her office. She could probably comment on it more. This comes through Shore Contract Group. It's through Sourcewell. It's a 10% at least discount. Shore is a manufacturer slash supplier for this product, and then they hire a local certified installer to install it. And that installer in turn does pay prevailing wages. So like if you were to look at this itemized quote, you see a large number there for the labor charges. And because he's got a crew of 6 to 8 guys that are coming in doing this on a weekend so it doesn't disturb business. And he's going to show all those certified payroll reports to Susan Gallagher. So this company's hired, they use a local company out of Westerly by Shore who supplies it. If you were to go out to bid, you wouldn't get the discount that we get on the product, and it probably would be harder to get at this point. So I just wanted to bring that up in case there are any questions.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Ready. Look at that. Two for two.
One question. Sorry if I jumped ahead. Anyone has any other questions, feel free. One question I had about the itemized quote is the furniture removal and replacement. So 14,000, right?
They're doing that on the cuff while they're doing the floor. They have to do a section, move furniture, do a section, move furniture. So that way they could keep the flow going as they're doing the work. Otherwise, if you had us doing it, it would probably drag the process on. Plus you're paying a lot of overtime for that. So
Right.
it's
But that's
just,
literally, that's not new furniture, right? That's just
oh no,
literally
that's moving furniture. Ahead of time, we would get all the light stuff and we would have Dan come in and disconnect computers and whatever needs to be connected for IT ahead of time. And then we'd have to put that all back Monday morning. And also I just want to say this money is budgeted in our capital. There's 200 in there. Half of it was for this floor. The other half is for the IT project that's a half funding for that project. So
Okay.
this project is funded and
I
budgeted.
gotcha. I gotcha. That's the only one that sounded like kind of expensive for like a
Right. Well, this
unskilled
finishes
task.
right. This finishes the whole flooring system for town hall, except for the work for the IT project at this point.
Okay.
That'll be
All
a
right.
separate deal.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Any other
You're welcome.
questions before we go to the public? Okay. We have Catherine Celeberto. Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. This is the second phase of the project. When I saw the bid on the first phase, I contacted the Department of Labor and Training and asked them what the prevailing wage is to install flooring. It is, as Mr. Lescarbo writes in his bid, $68.38. Of that, $38 is for benefits, okay? So what a floor installer would normally be paid is $40 an hour. This is about $70 or $80 an hour. This is what this Perry Floors is claiming that he's going to pay his floor installers. Now, if he's going to pay them that, that's fine, but that's way above prevailing wage. And I have a concern. I don't have a concern about somebody getting paid more. I have a concern that he might not be paying his employees. It's a terrible thing to say, but I have a concern about it because it's so far above the prevailing wage for floor installing. So I would see when people submit contracts, they just don't submit bids. They have to, I believe, put a list of employees, how much they paid each one, and all of that. There's all the paperwork involved here. So what I'm going to do, frankly, is if you give this bid to this person, I'll be filing access to public records request. And I'm going to want a lot of specifics, not necessarily names of employees, but a list of employees and what they were paid and how many hours they were paid and what they were paid. Because again, this is way above prevailing wage. And I'm not talking about the time and a half pot. I'm talking about the $100 pot. If you subtract the $28 for benefits, you're talking about $70 an hour when the prevailing wage is $40. Again, I hope he's paid him that. I just don't know if it's maybe too naive to assume that he is. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Next, we have Dr. Al Alba. Al, please state your full name and address.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. APCOR, they have done outstanding work, but Steve, I have great respect for you. But I have a quick question for you. Do they ask APCOR for a bid for this process for installing the flooring for a competitive bid?
You want me to answer that, Jesse? So no, they didn't ask ABCOR because ABCOR is not a certified installer for Shore Industries. So Shore is, like I said, they're the manufacturer and supplier. So they have their own people that come in, because this will in turn help provide the warranty for the floor work as well.
Okay, thank you so much. And on that note, if you know, I know we're going to be designing a modern state-of-the-art library, and I know we're thinking of doing reverse engineering. So hopefully they could have a meeting of the minds with you, Steve, and our engineering department to seek out maybe, you know, instead of maybe having hardwoods, if this flooring is good for the town hall, maybe it'll be good for the library as well. I'm not driving a Lexus, a Porsche. I drive a Camry. I got 120,000 miles on it. It gets me where I want to go. We can have a beautiful library, and it doesn't have after all the, you know, bells and whistles of having oak hardwood floors. If we can have, you know, students and patrons are going to enjoy that library just as much. With
I just want to make sure we stay on topic.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Al.
Thank you.
Steve, what is the warranty on this in terms of the manufacturer's warranty plus the labor warranty?
I don't have that, but I could get that to you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Next, we have William Gardner. William, please state your full name and address.
William Gardner, Kinney Avenue. I just want to sort of tie in two ideas. On the previous thing for the Public Works garage, Steve had mentioned that they were saving some money by doing some of the concrete cutting and the stuff within their realm of expertise. If you look at that overtime cost just for moving the furniture out of the rooms and back into the rooms, it's about $15,000. Couldn't people from the Department of Public Works move it into the big meeting room on Friday and move it back into the offices on Monday? They're going to do the infrastructure for the IT. So if you look at the whole project, you got about $24,000 worth of flooring, and you have $80,000 worth of, you know, extra work. Aren't these basically offices that have worked from home during the pandemic? Couldn't the people in these offices work out of home for 2 days during the week and have this done, not at time and a half? If about, say, 60 or 80,000 is labor, if you save a third of that at time and a half, right there would be $30,000 in savings. Take out the moving, there's $40,000. I don't know if when we look at bid projects, do we say to ourselves, compared to what? Do we say, oh, this is sole source, so we have to live with it? Do we compare it? Do we ever say, hey, we could do this better in-house? Steve seems to mention that there are some, you know, there's some cost savings that we can do in-house that would be pretty significant. 40 grand is like a full town, That's an employee's salary for the year for a lot of town employees. If we can save that, that's a ton of money. Just my thoughts on it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Okay, Jim, if we were to have town staff handle furniture moving, well, first, I don't know about union contracts. That would probably be outside of job description, right?
That would play into it. Also their availability, when we need it done. And with moving stuff around, moving office furniture out of offices, a working office with, for instance, like engineering and water, they're dealing with quite a few plans, and there's a lot of material they have to get their hands on. And yes, there are some people who have worked from home, but not on an extended basis. We always have to have someone in here. I was here every day. And so a lot of the other staffers, and that's the way we had negotiated it with them, was to do it on the weekend when the offices were closed. Because it would be cleaning out an office, moving all the file cabinets, putting them somewhere, doing one room to be a very slow process. Really would.
They're heavy.
And it's bad. The DPW guys and other staff, they all do a great job. They're not professional furniture movers. They're really not. That's
James, I got a question. We've done these offices in other areas on that first floor, correct?
yes, we had.
Is this in line with what we've done before?
It is. And if anyone comes into my office or some of the other offices that have carpeted on a Monday morning after this building's been closed up, you'll smell it. It's
Right.
but this is the same that we did down in finance when we had the clerk, we had the mold issues, the water issues, the odors, same.
And didn't crew from the town build that cabinet, the counter at the clerk's office?
Yes, they did do that.
Yeah, so we do utilize,
Oh, yes.
utilize town help when it's feasible. So
Absolutely.
I'm okay with this. I mean, this is in line of what we've been doing. Let's just get it done.
If you don't mind, I'd like to add that to do that during the week too, it's very loud and disruptive for the offices that are still there. Because when they did it upstairs on there was a couple of little small offices, it's very loud. So it really needs to be done off hours.
Especially when we worked on that HVAC. I was there for that one.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Chris, and Jim and Patrick. Any other comments before we vote? All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 18 is a motion to approve the purchase of one new Towmaster T220 or T24T equipment trailer for Public Works for Bobcat of Rhode Island in the amount of $32,462. Do we have a
I'll move
motion?
the motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
I would just like to
That's
say, I neglected in the recommendation in summary to state that this trailer isn't just a new trailer to have. It's replacing a 1995 interstate heavy equipment trailer. So it's a 27-year-old trailer that's pretty much had all it could take. So it's just a replacement of another trailer.
All right, thanks, Steve. So it's a new piece of equipment, but it's replacing something that we currently use. Yeah. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like there are any hands up from the public. So all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse
Thanks,
Pugh,
Dave.
aye.
Thank you.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 19 is a motion to authorize the town council president to execute on behalf of the town the agreement with the library and the Friends of the Library in the form attached hereto, and once executed by all parties, direct the town manager to advance up to $1.5 million or such lesser amount as is necessary to evidence a fully funded construction budget at the time of the application to OLIS. Do we have a
I'll move the
motion?
motion.
Second.
Okay. All right, so this is from Counselor Cicilline Bonanno and myself. Susan, I'll give you the honors to start.
So I just want to say that the working group, which consists of council members, the town solicitor, the town manager, some library board members, some friends of the library, worked really hard over a period of time to get an agreement that was fair and well done, so that they could advance on, really on paper only, the 1.5 million, with the understanding that they will replenish and put that back. We have sheets of the donations and the money that's going to be coming in over the next 3 years. So we have the complete confidence that this is just a paper changeover to verify that, and to show OLIS that we are committed as a town to move forward with the application process. They need something in hand, and the commitment to show shows that from the town council if this motion should pass, and we agree. And I just want to mention, and when we looked at the funding on it, and that we have a healthy fund, and you know, any way you want to say it, I mean, Chris Bagnoli says it's a healthy fund. So we have money sitting in the general fund that's sitting there that needs to move in and out. When we have 26 million unspent dollars and 14 million dollars that is just sitting there, you know, we can do a loan on paper. It will be reimbursed. They are committed to it, and I believe that it's the right thing to do. We have a formal agreement, so I hope that the council will unanimously pass this so we can move forward. We've been delayed for 2 years. Let's get this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'm gonna go on to Eva. Eva, any comments?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions that I wanted clarified. So with that agreement, I just had a question. Is it a legally binding document? Just this question is for James, the way it's laid out.
Yes, it is an agreement between the parties, obviously, all three parties. Repayment terms don't have payments in terms of months or years, but the hope is that it's paid, or not even has to be expended, but is in pocket for the reimbursement in the long run. It's intended that all advances shall be repaid by June 2025. I did talk or communicate with Eva a little bit about this earlier. I spoke with Dave Ferrara, who's the bond counsel, just to go through some ideas. One thing we discussed that could be part of the agreement that we did not include, we did discuss various things, would be an idea that the library fund doesn't receive any more capital advances until this is paid back. But it is a binding agreement, but in terms of the penalty or default, it's different in that there's not a, it's a quasi town department, or basically a town department, and defaulting your own department would make little sense, I think. So this is what we came up with in the working group to put this on paper, to get it organized for the maximum reimbursement, which is needed before construction.
So with that, is there any verbiage that we can change so that it's worded stronger, where, you know, because there's the one section that I was reviewing that said repayment terms. And it starts off with the library board and the Friends of the Library agree to use their best efforts in good faith to raise private donations and grants to repay the advance. And like, basically, I was like thinking that's kind of not as a strong, and I know, like, you know, it's going to pay back. So the point is to get the maximum OLIS funding, you know, we need to show it. And then, but if we took out use their best efforts and then just put agree and good, or just agree to raise private donations, I don't know, there's just something there in that phrasing that makes me nervous, because I don't know if there's any scenarios where it could not be paid back. So that's just my concern, because it is, in the end, it is the taxpayer money that is in the general fund. So those are just, that's just the concern I had.
The language of the agreement is definitely a draft. It can't be approved unless it's approved by the council. So if you want to change the language in that first sentence under B, we can certainly discuss that and move forward. However, the council decides, we're ready to follow that direction.
Yeah, and then you did say, but there's really no recourse. So that's if there's no recourse to, like, if it's not paid back, like we can't, you know.
I spoke to Patrick about that as well. He has some different ideas. I'm sure he wants to discuss those. And
okay, yeah, and so all right, thank you, James. I know we kind of just touched base really quickly, so I need to answer that.
Yeah.
And in terms of, like, so the fundraising, and I know that again, it's COVID year, but what exactly has been done in terms of fundraising, and can somebody, I don't know if Lori Kelly or maybe Susan can just give like a background on what has been done for fundraising and how we're working on recouping those donations right now.
I can speak on that, actually.
Okay.
If you want. I have just a quick visual. It's not really a visual because it's numbers, but it's in a Word document, so it's kind of visual, not vocal. So let me do that. Yeah, I have these latest numbers on fundraising. And if Lori Kelly wants to speak, she can always raise her hand and speak up as well. But let me get this set up real quick.
And Ever, I think we could probably share these sheets with the council at some point. I mean, it doesn't have names of the donors, it just has numbers. Yeah, so
I haven't seen it. And then just even just if there's I haven't seen a cash flow analysis either of, like, the, you know, what the costs are going to be in terms of, like, what money coming in is and just the payments, like monthly or quarterly. We haven't seen that either.
All right, can you guys see my screen? Yeah. All right, so the first thing is with the numbers. So there's $1.1 million raised and in hand. So those are donations that have actually been paid to the Friends of the Library, and it's in the bank, which is that's getting transferred to the town. So that's done. That's 1.1. The library also has just about it's a little bit less than a $400,000 existing fund balance that will also go towards the project. So that's another 400,000. And then there's another, I think it's 98,000. And I'm estimating if I'm off by a few thousand.
Excuse me, Jesse, it's not coming. If you're intending to show it to the public and the council, it's not coming up.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just going through these numbers, and I'm going to talk about future commitments. That's what I'm going to show. So you can ignore this on the paper right now.
Okay.
So another 98,000. So that's basically, what is that? 1.6 million. So that's that. And then after that, we need to look at the commitments that have been made for yearly pledges. So a lot of these donations have been pledged. They say, we're going to donate $500,000, but we're doing it $100,000 a year for the next 5 years. So even though those are committed and they're on paper, they don't count towards showing OLIS that we have the full project and not in hand, because it's not, because those are coming year by year. However, when it comes to paying back the town for this advance, we consider those, because we know that over the next 3 years, there's going to be a certain amount of money that transfers back to the town to satisfy this advance. So that's what I want to show you now. So this year, so the end of March, there are 2 pledges that are committed to that will be paid by March 31st of this year. So $300,000. By the end of the year, there's commitments for another $125,500. By the end of next year, so the end of 2023, there's pledge commitments for another $80,000. 2024, another $80,000. And these are from organizations that have already donated partial amounts and have committed to multi-year pledges. And then by the end of 2025, another 30. So this is without any additional fundraising. These are already committed. So this is if the Friends of the Library completely stopped fundraising. We already know these numbers. So that totals $617,500. Right. So that's committed pledges to over $600,000. Then, this is important, we have the Champlin Fund. So the Champlin Fund is a grant that the library has applied for. They have a history of granting large sums for these type of projects, and the library has applied for up to $1 million towards this. Not guaranteed. Very, very likely that we will get a significant amount, but I'm putting the 1 million in there for now. It may be 700,000, it might be 800,000, but it's going to be very substantial. So this total here ranges from 1.3 million to 1.6 million, and I'm basing that on a $700,000 donation up to a $1 million donation from the Champlain Fund, plus the 617,000 that's already been committed to. So
Just to clarify, so that would be the one to pay back the town.
this will all go towards the advance that we're talking about.
Okay.
So this isn't like money that's already kind of assigned to one fund towards the project. This is specific donations that would be used as transfers back to the town to satisfy the 1.5 that we're discussing tonight.
Okay.
Because I think the concern here, my concern and other people's concern, is that this idea that the town's giving the money as a additional, an additional transfer on top of the 5.8 million, and we're never going to see that money back. And what I want to show is that that money's already been, for the most part, that money's been committed already. And a lot of it's going to depend on that Champlain Fund, but we're banking on that. So we have the 1.3 to 1.6 million dollars that we're pretty much expecting to come back to the town. That is going to be, so that's in addition to the 650,000 that we're going to get back from OLIS by making this advance and applying to OLIS now. So if we don't apply, and I'm going to stop sharing because that's all I have, but if we don't apply to OLIS and get this done by June, then we'll lose any reimbursement for the building acquisition. So if we said no, we just said no, we're not going to do this, the library is not going to be able to get this amount of money in hand by June. They can't have it in hand because a lot of these pledges are multi-year. And we're just basically saying we don't want that $650,000 acquisition reimbursement. The only way we get it is by showing OLIS that we have full funding for the project and that the town's going to do this transfer on paper and show that we're willing to fund this project. My expectation is that we may see full repayment on this 1.5 before we even pay it out. Before we even pay the contractors for the work, that money could come back depending on that Champlain Fund and when that's granted. We might not even have to physically transfer the money out of the town account. So what we're doing now is basically a paper transfer just to show OLIS that the town backs this project. So that's my position on it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't see how we can really not do it because we would just be foregoing, $650,000 by doing that.
Right. So, and then so you have to apply, and then when do you find out if you get it? Is it a guarantee that we get that from OLIS? Like is it just that we apply and then we get the money, or how does that work?
So the money is, well, there's no guarantee. I mean, there's never a guarantee. I think every person involved in this project would be completely shocked if the town didn't get reimbursement from OLIS. We've been talking about this for I don't know how many years. But it's paid back annually, and it goes towards the bond. And David Farrar, our bond counsel, would probably speak more eloquently on it than I could. So, David, if you would you be able to shed a little light?
Can I just make one point, Jesse? That 650,000 is the 2022 OLIS parcel. There's more, there's more in future 2 years, right?
It's the repayment specifically for the money we spent to buy the building.
Right.
Because you have basically 3 years to request and get approval.
Right. And Jesse, that window is closing because we did it away.
Right, because we acquired the
flossing around with the last session.
Correct.
So this is why our backs are against the wall here.
I think Dave's on too, Jesse. He's
on. Yeah, David, if you have anything to add or any corrections, anything I said, feel free.
No, it was all accurate. The
great.
OLIS funding occurs annually at the same time as the payment is due on the bonds that we're going to talk about on the next agenda item.
And so that's up to 50% of what, up to 50% is what we're saying essentially of reimbursement.
Up to, but I think they're projecting no one gets 50, and it's most likely in the range of 40. But if you cannot make an application that gets approved by June 30th, you will lose 650 of the total for sure.
Yeah, and so that's just for the construction. So it just references
No, that's it. The acquisition of the building will have occurred more than 3 fiscal years prior if approval is obtained in July. So the council, I want to remind you, retains full control to award this contract now geared towards the fall, and no spending will be made until the council awards that contract or any contract.
Okay, so this is just like saying we have the money to move forward with the project to OLIS.
That we have bond money. That's the next agenda item. We have of 3.4 million, I believe. We have the library has raised funds that must be transferred. The library friends, the fundraising, wherever it is, has to be transferred to the town, certainly before we award a contract, and OLIS would like it transferred sooner rather than later. That it will be restricted funds only for that purpose. And lastly, we have the town's, this you're considering now, the town's promise to advance additional monies to be repaid from future donations and grants to bring it up to the full funding of the present budget of approximately 6.5 million. If you don't do this, you cannot show, we're told we cannot show full funding because we don't have it. And therefore,
yeah, so if the costs are higher to build it, so that doesn't matter. So like going forward, like say, with the construction costs going up. So right now we're just focusing on this number to make sure that we have that met, and then we'll just fundraise for the rest. Is that the plan?
Well, I've pointedly asked the question of whether if the 6.5 million for whatever reason does not suffice, they will either have to further downscale the project, or with OLIS approval again, or fundraise more to meet the gap or do something. That's out of our control, really. But that is they're saying that is an accurate number reflecting 20% cost inflation over the last since 2017. That number, I believe, was provided by the cost estimator. It comports with 2 national surveys of construction cost inflation that I located independently of them, and in fact, the ones they refer to. And obviously, we think we all know costs have gone up in the last 2 years, especially. And that's just, as Patrick says, that is the predicament you find yourself in.
Okay. So the plan is to just fundraise for everything else, if needed.
Well, or downscale the project or something.
If it's needed.
They can only downscale so far.
Right.
All right. Anything else, Eva?
Not for.
All right. Deb?
I think it's pretty clear what that we need to do this in order to get the OLIS funding. I have no questions.
Okay. Patrick?
Yeah, Dave, I got a couple questions for you. Since you're the celebrity bond lawyer here and the expert. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
You've been in these situations with other towns on different projects, whether it be a library or a gymnasium, what have you. This is basically a placeholder just to jumpstart this project and quit dithering around and keep sand on the track to keep this thing going, correct?
Yes, to get, you know, you're down 650 if you don't do this.
Right.
So that is another hole that you don't have a final construction number yet. You are in, as with, because you're involved with state reimbursement, which, you know, was never, which was, although contemplated, was never a legal requirement, that, you know, it's just compelling if you want to go forward with the project to make this paper transfer or paper commitment. You haven't spent a cent and won't without the council's approval.
Correct. And theoretically, this whole 1.5 can be paid by the beginning of the fiscal year, July 1st of 2022. Theoretically.
I would
Pretty
more
close.
put it past that the bulk of it would hopefully arise before you ever award the contract and need
Right.
the money.
Okay. Right. Right. Okay.
I
So
don't.
it's
I wouldn't
basically
say it's June 30th of this year.
Okay.
At all.
All right. So it's basically a placeholder. We have the money. We got money kicking around in that reserve, and I know Stanley's got his hand up, and we're going to keep an eye on that for property taxes this fiscal year, Stan. So I don't see a problem with this. You know, we've been dithering around for 10 years, 2 election cycles, 70% of the people wanted it. This is just going to springboard this project forward. Let's just get it done. There is a drop dead date of
2025.
12/25. So it does have a component of a contract, a real contract. A future town council, like a previous town council can defund the library if they don't pay it back. So there is a penalty from the town. We've seen that before firsthand. So I can support this project. Let's get it done. Let's stop the crybaby crap about this whole project and move forward. And that's the soft soap answer.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. You know, one other thing I just want to mention, and we'll go to the public, is that with the commitments that we see in place for donations that will pay back the 1.5, and the timeline of June for an OLS decision on the approval of the application. Once that happens and we get the 650, the commitment for reimbursement for 650, we're then on track to spend under the $5.8 million bond. Because that's what really is the issue that keeps coming up, is that the voters approved 5.8, and as the budget for this project goes up, certain people think that the council's spending more money. We're going to end up spending less money. So we'll spend less than $5.8 million bond. That's what the people voted for. That's what we're doing. So I just want to remind everyone of that, because these reimbursements, that's real money as well, and that's coming back to the town. We're going to be under the 5.8. So anyway.
Yeah, I got one more question for Dave. Dave, when we bonded out, we got a very good rate because the rates were very low, correct?
Correct. You have projections of what the voters were told in the legal ad in 20.
Was that 18? I think it was 18.
16.
16. Okay.
It
Jeez,
all
was that long
melds
ago?
together. It was projected at 3.5 an annual debt service of 450.
Right.
You have projections in the next item showing the acquisition was bonded out at 1.58%, not 3.5,
Nice.
over 15 years, with annual debt service of 1.6. The new debt service is level debt, so it varies year to year.
Right.
And so the total debt service, the annual payments will be significantly, $980,000 less than projected to the voters.
Right. So basically, yeah.
If you comport with the advice of the financial advisor, which is to expedite the final bond.
Right.
In addition, I do want to mention that in the legal ad, no mention of OLIS reimbursement was made because it was just not. I didn't do it that way because it wasn't guaranteed.
And we also have a tenant where we're netting about 20 grand a year. I just thought I'd throw that in. So
that's separate. Yeah, that is
yes.
separate.
Yep. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Thank
Dave.
you, Patrick. Before we go to the public to take some comments, I'll start with Catherine Celeberta. Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. I just want to make a comment, and I want people who are listening to understand. There's been a lot of promises made by the library board. I think they had great plans. It just doesn't seem to be coming together yet. But that number of 50% reimbursement was thrown out. Laurie Kelly did state that the average over 10 years was 43% reimbursement. See, I pay attention. But there's a different formula for building purchase. And we paid $2.4 million for that space, and we are only going to get $650,000 back, which is only a 27% reimbursement rate. Down the line, we have a similar problem because OLIS reimburses construction costs at 50% based on $250. That's the last time I looked it up. So that's $125, and these construction costs are much more than that. Frankly, to me, this project, maybe they should think about scaling it down. The 3,000 square feet in the attic of the Pier Liquor, I don't believe it's a shuffleboard court, as the doctor always says, but I don't think, do we really need it? Honestly, I think the library board has to think about scaling down, but all they think about is scaling up. And the other thing is they have $1.1 million in cash in hand, but we've advanced them $600,000, $500,000 for the architect or something, and $100,000 for the construction manager. So all these numbers, and 80,000 on your chart, Jesse, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans as far as the $6.5 million is concerned. I'm just thinking it's getting like way out of control, and they probably had good intentions, but the money's just not coming in, and they have to think about scaling down. I don't want to give up this $650,000, even though it's only $650,000. It's going to be paid over the course of 20 years. But I want people to realize that they maybe have to adjust their expectations. And I think the town council is going to have to put some kind of controls on all of this. Otherwise, we're just going to keep advancing, and the costs are just going to keep going up and up and up. And it's really not fiscally responsible to continue on this road. I just think, really have to start thinking about where you're going with this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Next, we have Stanley Wojciechowski. Stanley, please state your name and address.
Stan Wojciechowski speaking. I was listening to Eva. You mentioned, I guess we have to spend the money to get all this. I'm not going to sacrifice that $600,000, that's for sure. But contract language, I think, Eva, you mentioned that they would do their best to reimburse. Do their best. No, we need to have language. They would, in fact, carry out all fundraising efforts to the maximum until all the money is reimbursed. So it's a contract that counts here. You've got to put their nose to the grindstone here. They have been very effective in doing things. So therefore, we just have to have contract language that they promised to get all the monies for sure, not make their best effort, but in fact, do it. And that way we get a commitment from them and their reputation is on the line here forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanley. Next, we have Ted. Ted, please state your full name and address.
Ted DiStefano, 94 Colonel John Gardner Road. I'm coming at this from a different point of view. And as a CPA, I did what I believe is an extremely conservative estimate on how much the long delay in building the library cost us taxpayers in Narragansett. My conclusion is that I have absolutely no doubt that the delay cost us Narragansett taxpayers and residents over $2 million. This is the result of increased prices, lost funding, OLIS from the state of Rhode Island, and legal costs to defend the voters' rights to have a new library. These increased costs were incurred during the time that we had to wait until we voted in an entirely new town council. With these facts in mind, I respectfully request that we quickly vote to go forward with haste and with no further delay so that the town can have a library that we will be all proud of and that will serve present and future residents of Narragansett. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Next, we have Paul. Paul, please state your full name and address.
Paul Zonfrillo, 7 Windward Circle. This money does not have to be paid back. Let's be really clear about that. So we're giving this money to the library. There's no question about it. They do not have to pay us back. The agreement says best effort. And that's why, I don't know, Mr. Callahan says he never gives a yes or a no answer, but the yes or no answer to does the library have to pay it back is no, they do not. It says best faith, end of story. Second, how do we know that there's really this deadline? I have an email from OLIS, which I just got in from a friend of mine, asking the head of OLIS if the state has a requirement for the timing and completion of construction of the new library. The building that's supposed to be built was bought in 2018. And this is the response from OLIS. The Office of Library Information Services Construction Program is not a competitive grant program and applications are accepted on a rolling basis. As such, the timeline for the application is a local decision. An agreement to reimburse an approved project must be entered before the project goes out to bid and before construction begins. Once OLIS has entered into an agreement to reimburse the project must be completed within 2 years. So I would like to ask council, both council, if they are 100% sure and would stake their reputation on the fact that this is absolutely true, that we're in this deadline right now, does not appear to exist. And this is communication from OLIS, which I will happily forward to the council. The other thing is, I mean, how many millions of dollars are we going to give the library? They're looking, we gave them another $1 million between the consultant and another gift that were given from the council. This 1.5 million never has to be sent back again. And why don't you put it into the agreement if it does? And finally, it doesn't appear, and do we have 100% confirmation from OLIS that this deadline even exists? This feels, you guys talk about hurrying things up. This feels like deja vu all over again. You guys are trying to jam this in before there's another council. And by the way, stop blaming the last council for what happened. It's the library's board's fault. They had a scorched earth policy to elect a new council and delay. They chose to delay this and could not get it done with the last council. So my most important question is, will council affirm that they are 100% sure that this deadline exists in light of the information I just received back from OLIS? This feels very corrupt. Thank you.
All right. Why don't we just settle this because we don't want things hanging out there. Right. We don't like misinformation. So we can confirm that the 3-year deadline related to building acquisition for a library is an accurate and real OLS deadline, correct? James or David? I don't think this is.
It's in the OLS regulations.
Right. Yep.
Which I'm looking for, but it's in the that is the deadline in the OLS regulations.
Right. Okay.
And
That's all.
And
Okay.
it's a three fiscal year rule. It's a hard rule. It's in the OLS regulations that is posted on the website of the Secretary of State.
All right. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
All right. Next, we have Dr. Al Alba. Al, please state your full name and address.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Thank you, Council President, for outlining the game plan, and thank you, David, and for your feedback. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think time is of the essence. I think this is like a bridge loan. I think we have to go through with this. We have to give them the monies. We don't want to forfeit this $650,000. So I feel, yes, let's get this on the road. You know, we've waited long enough for this here, and I want to thank you all for doing your homework. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Next, we have Sue Amoruso. Sue, please state your full name and address.
Yes, it's Sue Amoruso, 111 West Bay Drive. I just really feel, I'm glad you came out with that statement that it's in the OLS regulations, just to clarify, because a lot of people have a lot of opinions and it's not backed by fact. And a lot of this stuff that's being reviewed tonight was already presented in a January town council meeting. So I'm wondering why there's so many questions on what does this mean? What does that mean? When it's pretty much been covered as far as I'm concerned. You know, the library board has been working diligently for years, even before the first vote passed, the second vote. I mean, they're not looking for a palatial estate for the library. They're looking for something that fits into reasonable economic conditions for the town. And this loan, bridge loan, or whatever you want to call it, is basically just to ensure that we do make a good financial decision and that we do get reimbursement. So we don't want to have a delay because we don't want to miss out on it. And then people will be complaining about that. So I think we need to get behind this library that, you know, 68% of the town residents said they want, and they knew that it was going to assume, you know, some financial investment, but it's our library. So we need to support it, and I hope the council will vote for this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Next, we have Ron. Ron, please state your full name and address.
Hi, Ron Catanzaro, Atlantic Ave. I'm with Eva. As I read the agreement, the language about the repayment is insufficient. I agree with one of the callers who said that they may pay it back, may not. And then my other point is with the Champlin Fund. I know we're saying it could be 600 to $1 million. Are we guaranteed to get that grant? If they don't come up with 600 or $1 million from Champlin's, how do they pay us back? Any ideas? Is there a second plan, a plan B? And then if not, you know, at what rate of return does the town get interest on that money if it takes 10 years for us to get it back? Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Next, we have Nancy. Nancy, please state your full name and address.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Nancy DiNuccio, Vanderbilt Drive in Narragansett. I just first of all wanted to thank this council and especially Jesse and Susan for the amount of time that they have committed over many, many years to work with the library. We really have appreciated that. To me, this is, as you've said, a bridge loan. And this is to get the initial reimbursement back from OLIS so that we can show good faith that, yes, in fact, the town of Narragansett does support the library. The library is continuing to do fundraising. The grant, we have been virtually assured of getting the Champlin grant. Of course, you know, it's never 100%, but we're pretty sure that we're going to be getting at least $850,000 to $1 million to would help us recoup that 1.5 that the town is going to outlay for us. So I'm hopeful that everybody agrees with this and you pass this so that we can move forward. We want to submit that OLIS application by March and get things moving along. And we're hoping to break ground come October. So thank you for all your support to date.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, next we have Mary. Mary, please state your full name and address.
Sorry. Mary Nato, 10 2nd Street. Thank you, Town Council, for your support of this item and for your support of the library. I did want to mention, you know, I've seen some comments on social media that there's been no fundraising. I just mentioned that we've had 2 campaigns for matching funds. We currently have gaming events going on. We are going to have sponsors like that we're going to be doing in the summertime with the fundraisers, so people can have their name on some form of recognition or a recognition of a person in the inside of the library to raise money. So we're actively doing fundraising all the time. So I just wanted to make sure that people understand, and it's been very difficult with COVID, with the situation with COVID, not being able to have social events or, you know, large gatherings, but we're planning on something for this August, and we hope everyone attends, and we also may have some other events. And thanks to the people who have volunteered to help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. All right, and then we have someone on a Galaxy tab, A8. I'll move you over. Please state your full name and address.
Gloria Roman, do you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, Gloria Roman, 33 Wheatfield Cove Road, Narragansett. First, I want to thank the town council for your total support, Jim Callahan for creating the agreement, David Ferrara for all of your help that you've given us. This is a wonderful project. I know a lot of people are complaining that we have not scaled down, that we don't need oak floor. None of that is in the library. This is no Taj Mahal. It's bare basics, but we do need to fulfill OLIS's program. So therefore we cannot let 3,000 square feet go and not allow it to be developed, because then we will not meet OLIS's requirements. And then we're not eligible for reimbursement. So I want to thank all of you. You've all worked very hard. I've worked with all of you along this, and let's get this vote done. Vote yes, and let's move forward and enjoy a wonderful library in a year and a half. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thanks, Gloria. All right, looks like that's it from the public. Any other discussion from the council? Okay. Doesn't look like it. I will say one thing, because we had some comments about there being no guarantee. And I just want, you know, the people that speak to understand that we do listen to you. I understand that concern. I think members of the council have the same concern. You know, we have a working group with 2 council members and library board, town manager, town engineer, and then we have the other 3 council members as well. And we all have our individual concerns, but we know, everyone knows that there's general support from the town, from the residents of the town for this project. The project's moving forward. It's been confirmed and reinforced in multiple elections. It's been confirmed and reinforced that it's in the Belmont building. And now we deal with the reality of increased construction costs. So while there's no guarantee 100% guarantee that forces the library board to pay back that 1.5. There is a guarantee that if we don't do this transfer, that we miss out on $650,000. That's guaranteed. It's a guarantee that if we don't do that by June, we lose that money. And the risk of not getting the money returned, in my opinion, is extremely low. We have the commitments to show that money is getting transferred, and we work with the library board in a collaborative way. We're not looking to have any sort of combative position with a department of the town. We're here to work with the library board. When that money comes through, and when the Champlin Fund comes through, that money will get transferred to the town. Nobody from the Friends of the Library is running off to Mexico with $800,000. It's coming to the town when it's rewarded. And that's just what's going to happen, because when you are part of a town department, you just don't hold donations. You're not going to keep those donations. They're not even personal donations. They go to a nonprofit and they'll come to the town. So yeah, it's not legally binding. That's true. We're not going to say it is, but it's an agreement that's made between two parties and we expect it to be repaid. And we know those funds are coming. So I'm comfortable in it. I hope the rest of the council is as well.
I mean, I am. So I know like almost 70% voted for the library and the referendum. That the question was, at the Belmont building. So there's no question there moving forward with that. I think the scale of the project is actually appropriate. My only concern is like, I know it's just for, it would make me feel better if that language was changed. I know it's not binding, but just that one sentence out. And I know I'm confident that the libraries the town will get repaid. But just that one sentence, if we just took it out to use the best efforts in good faith, and I'd be fine with it.
I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue. Does anyone else with that specific wording? I don't think it matters either way, so it could be removed. Unless David disagrees.
I think we're gonna show commitment. Correct, Dave?
If I may, to the council, the language best efforts and in good faith is to raise the money, not conditioning the repayment of the money. It's a rather high standard to use your best efforts to do something. That is not to pay us, but to raise the money to pay us. The obligation to repay is absolute in the sense that if you raise the money, which you're supposed to use best efforts to do, we will be repaid. Or it's not a lessening of the obligation to repay. It's a enhancement of the obligation to fundraise. So if they were not to have a fundraising campaign and to sit on their hands, then they've are in moral default of this agreement. So it was never intended that diminishes their obligation. It was meant to enhance the obligation. And often many contracts, when you say you'll use, a lessening would be reasonable efforts. A lessening would be try to raise the money. It's an action that isn't in absolutes. I mean, you could try everything possible and not raise the money. So that doesn't go to the other question. I just only speak to that one sentence. I thought was enhancing the town's position, not diminishing it in any respect.
Okay, well, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not legal counsel. So I defer to your judgment on that. Okay.
I think the solicitor agrees with me. I think he does. So
yeah, I think the best efforts obviously is for the fundraising. The rest of the paragraph is really says that the library, all private donations and grants received by them after the date shall be deemed available to repay the advance. All grants received shall be paid over the town within 60 days. So we tried to make it as severe as we could, assuming the library board does raise the funds, in which Jesse said and detailed those funds.
I want to assure the council also, my opinion is the town cannot enter into a contract for the construction unless all the money is in hand, whether that's bond money or fundraising actually transferred us, or a transfer we've made towards these advances if the grants and donations do not arise by the time the contract is bid and awarded. Because I don't think, my opinion as bond counsel, and I'm not the town solicitor, is that you need to have committed appropriated funds to award a contract, not promises.
That's fine. Thank you. And I'm happy to help with fundraising efforts. So.
All right, I just want to ask Dave, while you're back here, I can't believe we got a celebrity bond counsel guy here. So this is like Hollywood Squares.
I'm just glad it's on Zoom because this would have been a rough night for me.
Yes, it's still pouring out there. You've seen projects like this before. I mean, I think they've been doing a great job fundraising. Look what they've been battling. A difficult previous council, COVID, and all the other issues that's been cropping up. I mean, the only thing we haven't battled was locusts, but I think they're moving up from South America. But anyway, once this project starts getting going and activity starts happening around that building and construction starts happening, isn't it your experience that fundraising just begats itself because people want to get involved, they want to see it done, and it just kind of snowballs once we do the bond, get the fundraising.
Yes, and the opposite, that when nothing is being done, it's hard to fundraise on nothing, and that is, I think, what Lori Kelly has been saying, that it's when things are underway and commitment is shown, people are reluctant to give money when things are stalled.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's not a legal opinion. That's just an observation.
Yep. Sure. Understood. I mean, it's like painting your bathroom, you're holding it off. You finally get it done. You go in there, you paint a couple walls and tiles in, and now you're excited. Now you want to get it done. And then it just comes together. And that's the same thing. I mean,
very specific analogy. Thank you.
People are going to get excited. This thing's going to get done. We've been dithering for 10 years. It's been voted twice on. We lost 2 million, according to Mr. DeStefano calculations, and I believe that. But we also gained 1 million because we got a lower bond rate, almost half of what we advertised. So somewhere in the big scheme of things is $1 million in library habit. So let's get this done and move forward. Thanks, Dave.
And I just want to thank James and David. I know, and Lori Kelly went back and forth, the working group, and you guys just worked really hard in getting the language for that agreement. And I know it was Saturdays and Sunday nights, just, to get it to be just right. So thank you for your hard work on making it fair for everybody. We really appreciate it.
All right, great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. Unless there's any other comments. All in favor, start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Wojciechowski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopic, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Next, we have a motion to approve to proceed expeditiously with the issue. Expeditiously, yes, sorry. Ah, boy. With the issuance of the remaining bonds for construction and to confirm the commitment of the town to proceed with the library project with a planned completion by October 2023 per schedule. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right. This comes from Susan.
This comes from, well, really from recommendation of bond counsel and you as well, Jesse. Dave, do you want to just speak to the public and the council about the importance of selling the bonds by March so that we get a lower rate?
Yeah, the town's financial advisor, who's been the financial advisor for many years, urges the town to consider moving forward with a bond sale in March before further increases in interest rates hit the bond market. And that's really the basis for it. The bonds are fully authorized. The town council president and the treasurer are authorized to issue the bonds. The remaining 3.4 million of bonds authorized by the voters. This it evidences the town's commitment to proceed with the project. In addition to moving ahead to take advantage of the interest rates. Interest rates have gone up 30 to 40 basis points. That's 0.3 to 0.4% since the beginning of the year. And financial advisors have been predicting increases in bond rates for a very long time, but this might be actually happening. It already has happened to some degree. The projections are at 2.35% for the remaining balance over 20 years. As I said, last year we issued 15-year bonds for 1.58%. So you can, even though those are 15 versus 20, the interest rate increase is still evident.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Any questions from the council?
Nope.
All right.
Let's get it done before it raises another point.
All right, doesn't look like any hands up from the public. So we're going to go ahead and vote. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Juzinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. And it brings us to our last item.
Yeah, Dave, don't be taking off. I might need you for the next item here. Because I'm going to be all alone on this one. I need some legal counsel. Don't leave me.
I don't think we need bond counsel for this last one.
I may need to get bonded out.
Okay, number 21 is a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 62 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Solid Waste, specifically adding a section entitled Article 4, Plastic Reduction Ordinance. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second? Okay. All right, so this item is from Councilor Jazinski and myself. It is a ordinance that was actually put together by the Conservation Commission and sent as a recommendation to the council. Actually initially sent about 2 years ago. And it was recently updated with just a few small tweaks regarding enforcement. And there might have been a couple other text changes, but enforcement was the big change. So it went from police enforcement to town staff enforcement rather than police. So, Eva, do you have anything you want to say about it, or do you want me to just keep going?
You can keep on going. I'll just make my comments in a little bit.
Okay. So it basically what it does is add a new section to our ordinances. For plastic reduction. The goal being general plastic reduction. In this case, the first piece of plastic that would be restricted are single-use plastic bags. That would be it. In the future, there may be other items, but that's not for this time. This is, it's a plastic bag ban is what it is, basically a single-use plastic bag ban. And it's a lesser version in terms of restrictions than what Councilor Jazinski put up a few months back. But this is the recommendation from the Conservation Commission, and Eva was willing to go with this, along with me to get this on the agenda and move forward to get this in place. Every other town around us has one. There's a few different differences. There is a fee associated with stores giving out paper bags. We could talk about that. I think we have some representatives from the Conservation Commission that will talk about their process on putting this together. We have Mike DeLuca as well, who's the staff liaison to the Conservation Commission. I can tell you by being involved in kind of witnessing the process, I wasn't there is no town council liaison for the Conservation Commission, but I did attend those meetings where they kind of finalized this. They did public workshops, they did surveys of businesses, surveys of residents, looking at other town ordinances, looking at studies on why these ordinances do work and don't work. What's the goal of the ordinance? Is the goal to move people to paper bags, or is the goal to move people to reusable bags? And I think that's the reasoning behind that fee in there, as a nudge to get people to remember to bring their reusables as opposed to paying a fee. It's very similar to a bottle deposit. You know, when you, in some states, when you buy anything out of a bottle, you pay that deposit, and most people don't return those bottles. So it's basically a fee. And that's all I have to say. I guess we'll have more discussion, but I think it's a long time coming here in Narragansett.
So Jesse, can I just clarify? So Eva put a ordinance on plastic bags, and this one that's before us tonight is from the conservation, the original one, correct?
This is the original. They did review Eva's as well. They liked a lot of parts of that.
Yeah, I went to the meeting. They liked part of hers, but I guess the only question I had, and I guess when they come on, is everybody's been emailing about that 10-cent. That was the only issue that I have found on that ordinance is, you know, the 10-cent fee. So I'd just be interested to hear what Brian says about his committee and how they derived at that 10-cent cost, and just what kind of work they did around that, because that seemed to be the only pressing issue for people that were, you know, weighing in on that.
Right. So do you, we can, I see Brian's hand is up, Brian Wagner. We can go to him now and get thoughts. You want to do that, and we'll come back to the council?
Yeah, I think since he's, you know, led that charge with the conservation group, I think it would be great to hear from him first.
Right. We can ask him any questions that we have.
Yeah.
All right. Brian, thanks for joining us. If you could state your full name and address just for the record.
Yeah, Brian Wagner, 6 North Hillview Drive in Narragansett.
Great, thank you. So go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there were specific questions or whether I should just go.
Well, let me just say for people in the public, I just want to, I'll do a little intro. So Brian is the chair of the Narragansett Conservation Commission, and was on the commission when this was initially put together, and is the current chair. So that's just a little background, but you want to go ahead?
Actually, I am the former chair. We elected a new chair at the January meeting, Brian Grieve, who was unable to make it tonight. So
okay, thanks for that correction.
Seeing as I sort of stewarded this most of the way through, it made sense to have me here tonight with this. Just a small correction, that this hasn't been floating around for 2 years. It's been floating around for 5 years. My initial drafts of this ordinance are from 2017. But I'm very happy to finally be here and be able to advocate for what I think is an important and long overdue ordinance in the town of Narragansett. As you pointed out, at this point, when we started out in 2017, I think there were only about a half a dozen communities that had plastic bag ordinances. There are substantially more now, including every community that borders Narragansett. So we're hardly the tip of the spear here in terms of environmental protection on this issue. But I think getting something done is more important than being first necessarily. I do think it's important. I noticed your question about the fee on the bags. This is something that I learned through my connections with the Surfrider Foundation, that even a small fee on the price of the paper bags will do a lot to push people towards reusable bags, which is ultimately the best choice out there. Paper bags, while they are compostable, when plastic bags are not, paper production is not the most environmentally friendly production process in the world. If you've ever been near a pulp mill, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's better, but certainly not the objective. The objective would be to simply have people using reusable bags. I think, you know, as Jesse said, we made a few small tweaks to it at the last couple of weeks to make it work a little bit better. And what we would very much like to do is get this through and continue to work on the proposals that EWA has put forward in terms of the other plastics, and do a little research and community work to get behind that the way we did with the plastic bags. At this point, there are 4 states in the Northeast that have already banned the styrofoam plastics: Vermont, Maine, New Jersey, and New York. And the town of Barrington has introduced their own municipal ordinance to ban them. So we've got a good resource of materials to look at in trying to put together a municipal ordinance, and we can do the legwork to work with businesses and talk to the community and do some workshops that we did with the bags, so that we can make sure that we have a successful product in the end.
Thank you, Brian. So I think now is a good time for any council members to ask Brian any specific questions. I'm going to start with one real quick, and then everyone else will get a chance as well. Brian, I do want to focus on those fees, because I do think that there's a ton of support for this. I did receive a few emails specifically about the fees. I remember when some of these workshops, I remember there was one that was in the council chambers that was towards the end of the process, where the fees came up. Do you remember, I'm not gonna put you on the spot in terms of exact percentages or anything like that, but do you remember like differences between communities that had a fee for paper bags and communities that didn't, and the effectiveness of that fee in terms of getting people to actually bring their own bags? Do we have any sort of data on that?
I no longer have that data immediately accessible. I do recall that what I read was that it didn't take much to get people to shift away. I think my initial draft for this ordinance probably included a 25-cent per bag fee, and after a number of discussions and looking at some of the literature is out there, we dropped it back to 10 cents to make it more palatable, and also because what I was reading was it didn't take a lot of money to make people change their behavior.
But you did see a difference in behavior when there was a fee versus no fee. Yes.
There's definitely, I can definitely say that there was research out there that supported that, yes.
Okay. One other thing that was in an email that I think the whole council got was residents on SNAP benefits that use EBT, and that bags are not eligible items for like an EBT card. So let's say you shopped and you got like, every item you got was eligible for SNAP because you were very careful about what you're choosing, everything's eligible. And then you pay, but then there's like, whatever, 80 cents that you still owe. Was that like discussed, or, I mean, I never thought of it. I don't know if your committee ever did either, that kind of situation.
I can't say I recall that conversation, Justin.
Okay, I just didn't know if that was incorrect, and maybe it was eligible, or if there's any way to make that be able to be just put onto that card so that it doesn't have to be a separate transaction for someone who is going to use paper bags. So
yeah, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, all right, that's all I have. But thanks again for all the work that you guys have done on this. I'll let the rest of the council speak. All right.
I just want to echo. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
I just want to say thanks to the committee, to Brian and all your hard work on it. And I absolutely know Narragansett's ready to adopt something. I am concerned about the money that's attached, and we did get quite a few emails on it, and I was just wondering what impact would happen if we were to take that out, if we weren't going to have a fee. I mean, what do you think? How impactful do you think it would be to that ordinance? I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I would be disappointed because I would, I prefer to try and get a product out there that is going to effectuate the best possible change in society. However, I understand that, this is a proposal that comes from the Conservation Commission. It's advisory in nature, and ultimately it is the town council that makes the decision. So I would accept the decision of the council on the fee issue if you chose to make a change there.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, because I'll listen to the conversation, but there might be an amendment that I might throw out just to see for passage. Thanks.
All right, we're gonna go to Deb.
Couple of things. I know that in some stores, what they do is they actually pay you for using your own bags, which is sort of the alternative idea. I don't think we can mandate that, but that's a way to get people to use their own bags. I also want to make the point that I think that the idea of bringing your own bags to the store is, one of the advantages of not being the first in to employ one of these ordinances is that people are getting used to the idea that they have to bring their own bags. If you live in Narragansett and you happen to shop at Shaw's or you shop at Belmont, you have to, you can't use plastic bags. So I think in that regard, my own observations are that lots more people use their own bags when they're going to the store now. So I just want to make that point. I do have some concerns about the 10-cent fee. One of the issues that I read about just this afternoon was some folks, besides the EBT issue, there's also people who have shopping done for them because they can't get out and they aren't necessarily well-to-do. And so that's an extra fee for them as well. It's not a lot of money, but it's still something. And they have no way to use reusable bags because of the way the shopping is being done. So those are all kind of issues that I think are out there. I'm absolutely in favor of this ordinance in every possible way, with the possible exception of that. And I also think it's a good stepping stone. I'm sorry, Patrick, but a good stepping stone to possibly move further into plastic bans going forward. So I think I would be okay with the notion of taking that piece out of the ordinance, the 10 cents out of the ordinance, largely because more people are accustomed to the idea that they have to bring bags to purchase things in stores, just because since we are surrounded by communities that have this ordinance already, if you go anywhere but in Narragansett, you're gonna, you have to be prepared for that as well.
And thank you, Deb. Eva?
Yeah, so thank you again to the Conservation Commission for putting this forward. Again, I wasn't aware of all the work they had done in the past, which is like when I had drafted up the ordinance that had the styrofoam and the plastic straws in it. So this is a great start. I think we're overdue, way overdue. And I know like when I learned quickly when I moved to Germany 25 years ago, and I was there for 5 years, that when I went to the store for the first time, they didn't provide you with bags. And if they did, they charged you for it. So it's like you learn quickly and it just becomes a habit. And that's not, this ordinance is not meant to shift to paper bags, because again, Patrick's going to argue that it's more energy and all that. It's to actually bring your own bags and reduce plastic and like reduce the paper bags as well. And I know when I've done research on this, I'm not going to belabor the points because I think I talked about these the last time. There are ordinances in Europe, and particularly in England, where they've had a great reduction in plastic use, and that's because they implemented a 5 pound, and 5 pounds is more than $5. That's the conversion rate. And then it quickly reduced it. And also it reduces it when you go, people, a lot of times they won't, even if they see a paper bag and plastic's not available, they'll pass on taking the paper bag. And I do that, you know, if I go pick up a few things, I'm like, no, I don't want the bag anywhere. So it just kind of changed it. And I know people don't like change, and that's why there's a lot of pushback, I think. But again, a lot of the towns, municipalities all over do have this in place. And we're probably one of the last, and we should have been one of the first to do this, being in a coastal town. And I know, like, when I've been in Connecticut, when I go, they actually do have they charge for the paper bags. So
Charge.
it doesn't
Okay.
matter to me if it's charging or not. I just know that the research that I've seen, it actually does reduce the use when there is a nominal fee. It could be 5 cents or whatever, like the 5 cent like sodas or whatnot. But I don't mind waiving the fee. And so that's really all the comments I had. But again, thank you to the Conservation Commission. Thank you, Brian. Sorry I wasn't able to make those meetings afterwards, but thank you for taking some of the ordinance, like the styrofoam and plastic straws, and thinking about that for the future.
Thanks, Eva. Patrick, before we go to you, I do want to go to, we do have the chair of the Conservation Commission with his hand up. Brian Wagner mentioned he might not be here. His hand is up, so I want to go to him now. Okay. We'll go to you. All right, so Brian Grieve. Dan, if you can move him over, thank you. Brian, thanks for being available.
Yeah, no problem.
Could you state your full name and address?
Oh, right. So I'm Brian Grieve. I live at 9A Brown Street. Yeah, I just want to second everything that Brian Wagner had said. You know, he put a lot of the legwork into doing this. But as far as that extra fee goes, I'm certainly supportive of it. I guess I'll just say anecdotally, I grew up in Michigan, and there we have a 10 cents tax on all bottles, or for carbonated beverages anyway. And as a result, like, you see cans nowhere. Like, people will always pick up those cans, and it's 10 cents each, which, again, we're talking, that's ultimately not much money. Eventually you'll return those all, and you have a box of them in your garage, you return them, you get 10 bucks back, whatever. But that fairly small amount is enough to change behavior, even if you compare it to plastic water bottles, which aren't in that tax. And you see those on the ground, but you'll never see a beer can on the ground, for instance. So I mean, and I'm pretty sure there's been other research that has also kind of backed that up, that it really doesn't take a whole lot of incentive for people to change behaviors in that way. At least if they think that it's a sort of deterrent. And so it's why those sorts of things are used a lot in public health measures. So I would just want to, would certainly prefer that stays in, because single-use plastics are a problem everywhere in the country, but especially once you get into beach towns and things like that. So I just wanted to express my support for that. The most important thing, I guess, is getting this through.
Brian, all right, if you want to stay on, just email questions, that'd be great. We're going to go to Councilor Murray.
Okay, let's get a little history lesson here. The reason there's plastic bags is because back in the 80s and I think early 90s, we were using paper, and the environmentalists, oh, we can't use paper, we can't use paper, we got to go to plastic. Now we're up to our earlobes in plastic, and now you want to go back to paper but charge people. The last thing we should be doing is increasing the folks' grocery bills in this type of environment. Okay, I mean, you know, you go in and try to buy a pound of hamburger, it's like $6-7. Now you want to, you know, tax them for using paper? Come on. I mean, and then what I don't get is, I mean, all these taxes to change human behavior. If you want to change human behavior, then why is the state considering opening drug clinics where addicts can shoot drugs and be supervised? I thought we wanted to change behavior, but you want to go, I mean, nothing makes sense to me. I mean, I'm living in crazy land here, okay? I get it. It's a problem. How many of you ever drop a plastic bag with a wind and go running after it? Raise your hands. Everybody does that? Okay, well, that's what I do. I don't see anybody throwing plastic bags out the window. All right, I was gonna get my leaf blower, my gasoline leaf blower, and round them all up. But now there's a bill that says you can't use a gasoline leaf blower. So that idea is out. We have $4 billion in unfunded liability. We got other problems than charging some little old lady to use paper. Let the market dictate. How many of you bring a usable bag now? Do most of you bring a usable bag? Okay. That will go generational. I don't see a big bag problem. Okay, I really don't. If I see somebody throwing a bag, I say something. How many people speak up? Hey, you gonna pick that up, buddy? Anyway, in this market with inflation and the hamburger, I don't think we should be charging people any money. You know, let human behavior be responsible for itself. And for God's sakes, don't charge them 10 cents. That's if anything, this town should be giving them 10 cents to go into the store and pay for that hamburger. We shouldn't be charging them 10 cents. So I'm totally against this.
All right, so Patrick, you're a yes, probably.
Yeah, put me down as no.
All right.
This is why I wanted to move it forward here. So.
Thank you for that. So before we go to the public, I do think
DeLuca's got his hand up.
Okay, Michael. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. I know it's getting late, so I just wanted to add a few thoughts. And Jill Sabo here is of my staff is here also. She can help to answer questions if you have any. But wanted to point out a couple things. One is that I know that the Conservation Commission debated this 10% per bag fee back and forth quite a bit before they put forth the regulation that you have before you. And as you heard from both Brian Wagner and Mr. Brian Grieve, they feel pretty strongly about it. I had suggested that maybe the shall could be turned into a may, which then would then at least allow the businesses to recoup some of the cost of the bags if they wanted to. And I would suggest that that be considered for discussion among the council. Two other things I'd like to point out. One is that, Council President, you did mention there were a few small tweaks to the first draft ordinance. And one had to do with enforcement, you're correct. The other two were to add 3 reserved sections in the middle of the ordinance. All it says is sections 207, 208, 209. Reserved. Those were in deference to Councilwoman Jasinski's suggestions about the other products that could potentially be regulated in the future. So they're just sitting there as placeholders that might be used after some activity, some further activity of the commission to do what they had done before, which is fully vet the issues of straws, cups, whatever else. And the last thing I wanted to point out, the public may not be aware, but this ordinance is not intended to become effective immediately. As you know, most ordinances are. This one is intended to become effective, I believe, the 1st of next year. And that's in deference to the many wholesalers, the many retailers who buy bags in large lots, whether it's a carload or whatever. So we would allow them to use up their inventory of bags and not have to send them to the landfill. So I just wanted you to be aware of all of those points. Ms. Sabo may have more to add to that, but If not, she's available to answer questions. Thank you.
Mike, Jill, if there's anything you wanted to say proactively, feel free. Otherwise, we'll just ask you questions as they come up. Okay, thanks for that, Mike. Just before we go to the public, just a couple thoughts. So I do think the fee is pretty important for this. I think the council, whoever's in favor of this, needs to think about what the goal of the ordinance is. Whether it's to pass something to be in line with other communities that feel good, like we're doing something, or to put it in effect in the way that's going to actually be most effective to reach the goal. If the goal is to get people off of plastic and onto paper, then we could put it in with no fee, because you'll have exactly what South Kingstown has. And if you go to Shaw's, you'll see that most people just use those paper bags, including myself, because I forget and I go to the store and I just use the paper bags. But if the goal is to really get people to think about bringing their bags and to nudge them and remind them, then the fee is the way to do that. We have other towns that have proven that. And like Eva said, plenty of places in Europe do that. And it actually reminds me of the 3-student ordinance in a weird way. So Patrick, you're against that anyway, so whatever. But what we did when we were thinking about the 3-student was we were thinking about 3 versus 4 students. And when we looked at all the numbers of what we were trying to do, which was to keep 4-bedroom homes available for families, we intentionally made it 3 students. Because if we made it 4, those houses were going to still be rented out to college kids. And you're going to have that 4-bedroom house, still a college rental, not available for full-time people. And we specifically targeted 3. So in this case, we don't want to use paper. We don't want people to use paper. And the way to do it is to add a fee to it. It's not a cruel penalty that you're doing just for the sake of it. You're doing it to remind people and to get them, to nudge them into remembering their bags. Even if they have their bags in their car, you start walking into the store and you forgot them and you say, I'll just use the paper, because you're like, don't want to even turn around to your car. But if you're going to save $1, you know, it's only $1. I think you'll go back to the car again.
If you want, I see more masks on the ground. If you want to clean up the environment, let's ban masks.
We could do one thing at a time. We'll do one thing at a time.
Yeah, I disagree. I just think, you know, it's great to have an ordinance, and I understand, you know, that it, you know, changing the behavior, incentivize it by, you know, charging 10 cents. I just think the start of it, we should just adopt the ordinance, and I like Mike's suggestion, may or shall, you know, change the shall to the may, or take out the fee, see how we do in 6 months and see if we need to add it. But, you know, like big companies like Stop and Shop, I'm going to go there and they're going to charge me 10 cents every time. I don't know. I feel badly across the board for the residents that, you know, might be struggling. I say, see how we work changing the behavior for 0, and then, you know, move towards a fee if we think that's the way to incentivize. But it doesn't feel like a very good incentive being charged 10 cents. So I'm not for the fee, but I'll just defer to my fellow colleagues here on this. But I like the ordinance. I could support it, but I really struggle with adding 10-cent fees. I do.
All right. And then the other thing I'll add just before I'll finish up. Deb brought up the people that do like kind of the Instacart and deliveries, and also stores that do delivery, you know, so like Walmart and places like that will have like store sanctioned deliveries as well. We could amend this in a way that would exempt delivery. So grocery deliveries could be specified, and there could be no fee. It could only be for when you're going into the store to make a purchase. So any sort of deliveries would just be excluded. So that's one thing to think about as well. And I think that probably was never thought, because those delivery services have got more popular over the last few years. So, and that would keep
a quick question. Is this just single-use bags?
Yes. It specifies the certain thickness. And Brian, one of the Brians, can get into
17 liters.
North Kingston, they have those real thick.
I believe that those are restricted. Brian Wagner, is that correct?
No, I mean, this ordinance specifically bans all film bags. So it's not going to matter what the weight of the bag is. A film bag is not going to qualify as reusable. It has to be a textile.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so the ones at Walmart, those thick gray plastic, you couldn't switch to those as a store because it's not really any better. So, all right, I'm going to go to the public. We'll go back to the council for comments. We'll go to Dr. Al Alba. Al, please state your full name and address.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett. I've been all over Europe, just about every country in Europe. I've never had to once pay a surcharge. Also, I've been to Florida. I've spoken to people in Florida. In fact, I've recently spoken to many, many people in Florida, and they don't have any restrictions. So I don't know why the conservation people in Florida, which they're making billions of dollars on their seaports, and as we all know, it's a peninsula, and they don't have any restrictions. They're saying there's no issues with plastics. So it's not a different country. So it's just has me shaking my head when I'm speaking to the conservation people in Florida. Maybe the conservation people, maybe the two Bryans can speak to the people in Florida, and maybe we can get some agreement or find out what's going on. Maybe they have magical plastic bags over there or something that don't cause problems. I don't know, but I'm just telling you, I've spoken to people in Florida and they don't have any restrictions at all, nothing. Okay, so I'm a bit confused why I'm getting these conflicting messages. Also, to charge people, no. When I go to Whole Foods, they give me 10 cents discount. When you go to Trader Joe's, when you go to these other places. So, I mean, I will be willing to travel, 5 miles out of my way, 10 miles out of my way to save 5 cents, 10 cents on gas. I mean, I go to Airport Road to save 30 cents on gas. And I don't put my gas in Narragansett because it's 30 cents higher. If people are going to have to pay for bags, then people are going to go to South Kingstown. They're going to go to other stores where they're going to not have to pay. Some of them will do it for principle. And it's going to end up hurting a lot of our businesses in Narragansett. So we got to think of the consequences. Thank you.
You're on mute, Jesse.
Sorry about that. Sorry. Next we have Stanley. Stanley, please state your full name and address.
Dan Wojciechowski. I'm kind of worried because the 10 cents will become 50 cents. That's what government does. 10 cents,
Right.
50 cents,
It's
80
25 in
cents.
California.
They'll never stop. And I can see that because now we have to hire an enforcement officer. I can see hiring an officer, another $100,000 salary to enforce, go around and enforce this issue. I reuse every plastic bag I get. I put them on the garbage cans. Sometimes I double them up. I wrap a paintbrush in there so I can have the paintbrush the next day. I reuse them. They're actually valuable. They're a valuable item to be reused in my daily activities. If I want to carry something, I don't want to get it wet, I'll put it in a plastic bag. I've seen garbage cans at different stores that take the plastic bag. So if you have excess ones, you can put them back, bring them back there. If I see that, that's that. In fact, I like to get some out of it so I can use them. I think the answer is not government control again. Okay, voluntary. Okay, here we go. What you're gonna do is you get your high school and tell them to make signs. Please make signs about everyone bringing their own reusable cloth bag and not use plastic bag. Again, voluntary. They'll make a sign, ask the business to post their signs near the front door so that may suggest to the people that they bring their own bags in. a suggestion. You know, if I see that there, I'll go back. I've got about 6 or 7 cloth bags in my trunk. And if I would see that sign, I'd go back there and get the cloth bags. If I wasn't using the plastic bags, I would use my cloth bags and go in there. I even sometimes ask for a large plastic bag so I can use it in my compactor. So there's a lot of reuse. There's a lot of use available with plastic. And for government to go out and ban it, that is so un-American again. No way. Now, I'd like Mike DeLuca's idea, may. All right, I like that. You know, so you might tell the businesses if they want, you know, somebody might may, you know. Again, it's not a government order. It's a suggestion. So let's get some signs out there to alert the public that there might be an issue. And let's get a suggestion type situation, but an enforcement costing the taxpayers more dollars. I mean, significant
Stanley,
dollars. It sounds like 10 cents, but
Stanley,
I
right,
don't say that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next we have Catherine Celebrato. Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. My head is reeling from this crazy train to nowhere that Patrick is piloting and other people have jumped on. We've gone to Florida, we've gone to Europe, we've gone to Connecticut, we've gone everywhere on this crazy train. Okay, but can we just stay in Narragansett? The cities and towns around us do not have a mandatory charge for paper bags. And it would be, I think, injudicious for us to put a mandatory charge. South Kingston is down the street. And as Dr. Alba said, people do things just for the principle of the thing. And the goal here is to get the plastic bags out of the environment. It's not necessarily to change behavior. The first goal is get these plastic bags out of the environment and out of our food system and every other place they go that they don't belong. That's the first goal. So we have to, I think, just focus on that goal. And let me add this, the General Assembly had to take their fee out of the proposal they had that Representative McEntee had, because that was going nowhere, absolutely nowhere. So if they pass a plastic bag ban, it is not going to have a fee. Are we going to have a fee? It's just, I just think we should just stay away from the fee and get the plastic bags out of the environment, one thing at a time. Next step, you know, motivating behavior, that'll all happen on its own. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have William Gardner. William, please state your full name and address.
William Gardner, 40 Kinney Avenue. There's a couple of troubling things with this bag ordinance. First, even though it came from the Conservation Committee, this is an ALEC kind of law. I took one paragraph, plugged it into Google, and the identical stuff came out all over the country. And it's formulated by a group that is partly associated with the American Petroleum Institute. Their idea isn't to prevent plastic into the environment. It's just to keep it going. So that's why they suggest a law, because inevitably the use of fossil fuels in any type is going to decline. And every time they delay or stifle a law that hurts them, it's a victory. So if you look at the 10-cent thing, it's not a positive contribution. It's one of those, the beatings will stop when your attitude improves kind of thing. Make an incentive for people to be responsible. And don't, and then they line out, they're telling our retailers how to charge. You have to itemize it. You have to do it for every bag. What does that do for self-checkout? What is that? So what does it do for the delay of people moving through stuff? You don't need the 10-cent fee. If you go to the beginning of the ordinance, they make sure that they say that paper bags are not green. And when they say numerous studies have shown, they refer back to some study in England by the BBC back in 2011. So much has changed since then. The problem is plastic is bad for the environment, especially beach communities. And there's no pure plastic. I came out of the plastic industry. If they say something is polyethylene, there's 2 or 3% of something that's in that to process it. That's the bad stuff. When you look at this reusable bag thing, do you know why they say stitched bags in textile? Because they're all woven in China, and stitching means it has to be done in a cheap labor country, because you can't stitch anything in the United States now because it's too expensive. So that same bag that somebody brought up about Walmart, the heavy bag you can reuse and reuse and reuse and reuse and reuse, that's as good as one that comes from China that's stitched. So the background of this legislature is from a group that is totally against taking plastics out of the stream. So my suggestion is, you guys have a great idea. Get rid of the plastic bags. Don't charge people for it. Don't tell the small business, this is the steps you have to do to charge for it. I agree with Patrick. Don't charge people for a bag. And we know Stop and Shop doesn't care. Stop and Shop, they're the biggest user of plastic bags in the city. They're the ones, they charge us more for food than they do in North Kingston. The gas at Stop and Shop in Narragansett is more expensive than other places in the state. So don't think they're going to be doing us any favors. So let them deal with paper bags. And don't wait until next year to put this in place. Put it in September. Nobody keeps 6 months of inventory unless it's a small business. And in those small businesses in town, you can waive the requirement for a year. But say any business that has more than 50 employees, make it go into effect July 1st. Because Stop and Shop
Thank you,
has
Mr.
cities
Gardner.
that do it.
All right, thank you. All right, we're at 11. Do we have a motion to extend 15 minutes?
Make the motion to extend the town council meeting another 15 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
There
all
was
in
a delay
favor?
on that.
All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
No.
You don't want to extend? Okay. Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-1. All right. Do we
Please make it
have,
stop.
we're back to the council. So we've taken care of public comment. Any additional comments from the council? Start with you, Susan.
I'm still, I think it's a great ordinance. I would like to change the word to may instead of has to, be a charge. So I would see if the council, is there anybody that wants to amend the ordinance with me? Or does everybody want the fee in the council?
I think we should skip the may and shall and just say no fee shall be charged while using
Would you
plastic.
second
Or
that
while
motion,
using-
Patrick? Will you second
I
that
would-
motion?
I would like to get the may and shall out, and no fee shall be charged to anybody using paper bags.
All right, if you make that motion, I would second you and we'll see if we could get
You
that.
know that,
I move-
you know that's banning a store from even trying to charge.
Yeah, so I think it should be May. It should be up to the store.
Well,
And
wait-
if they won't, but it should be a choice, like for the store.
And the reason for that is because paper bags are more expensive
Yeah.
than plastic bags. So that does make sense. May make sense to me.
Yeah, and
Okay,
so
so
they
can we
may
do the
not.
May? Do we have the agreement in the May? Would you do that, Eva?
I would.
I would, Jesse and Eva?
I'm a no, but that's fine. We'll
Okay.
probably vote.
So if you leave it
But
up
you
to
know-
stores, they're gonna charge 10 cents. Because now you're pushing them against the wall. They can't use plastic. They gotta
Yeah, but
use paper.
A store could charge whatever they want. It's a product. You don't even have to have May in there. You can take the entire thing out if you want.
Well, not if you take if you take if you take the choice of using plastic, remember, you go there, it's paper or plastic. My answer is whichever harms the environment first, the most. That's what I always tell them. They look at me strange. So anyway,
Shocking.
yeah. But anyway, please, no charge, please. So
Is there a motion? I mean, is there an amendment or are we gonna just move forward with the motion?
I'd like to make an amendment to the ordinance to have no charge on the ordinance.
second,
Have no
What's the-
charge?
No
what's the
charge.
word? So what, what you need to be specific. Are you saying that it would just remove any mention of a charge? So
Yes.
that line would be totally gone, right?
Yes,
right,
I'd like to take the fee out.
take the fee out.
But that would still, Jesse, allow them to charge.
Yeah, they could charge if they want, but it's not
true.
required, right?
Right, but I mean, a store could charge now if they wanted to. No store is
Yeah.
gonna charge when other stores don't charge. You know, like, why are you gonna that's, I get it. That's fine. Okay, so the motion to remove any reference to a charge, right? That's your motion?
Second,
All right, so this is to amend it. James, is that specific enough to continue with this, or would we need to?
So we'd be removing section 62-206 B.
right? B.
Mhm.
If you take that
That's
out,
the motion.
that makes sense.
All right, so that's the motion from Susan, seconded by Patrick. This is an amendment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Banano, aye.
Eva,
Brzezinski, nay.
Deb,
come on, you can do it. Please, that little old lady, she can't afford it.
I am the little old lady
Yeah.
you're talking about. Maybe not so little, but old
And what are
lady.
you gonna do? What are you gonna do with the EBD cards? What are you gonna get?
EBT.
Shake down somebody who's
That's
gonna?
usually exempt.
Does it say that in this ordinance? Then you have to charge them. If it's not in the ordinance, you just can't charge one group of people and not the other group of people.
I think the problem is that EBT cards are not recognizable as such. That's the issue. Jesus.
Come on. World domination. You can do it.
So
World
let me just
domination.
stop it, Patrick. Let me just make sure I understand this. If we take it out, vendors can still charge if they want to, right?
Sure, it's still America. Somewhat.
If we don't take it out, they're required to charge. Or if we don't change it to may instead of shall.
correct.
See, I think of course, how many of these guys are going to read this ordinance anyway, but I guess I'm struggling with this one.
People with EBT cards are also capable of bringing reusable bags, right? So they're not forced to get paper bags.
So another thought that I had was maybe what we need to do is make sure that maybe we should provide a supply of free reusable bags to the senior center, et cetera, places like that. And if that was the case, then I'd be fine with getting rid of this. So that wouldn't go in the ordinance. That's just something I think we should do, which I guess would have to be a different motion, but
free bags.
It could be designed by Narragansett high school students.
Absolutely, why not?
contest.
Yes.
Sure. $11 a piece.
So Patrick, if I put a motion on next session to do that, you're going to vote for it, right?
So
They're not $11 a piece. They would be.
well, how
free.
much are they? I mean, that's the thing,
Well,
I mean,
you can buy them. You
listen,
can buy them in the store for $2.
Again, how many people who are sitting here looking at me right now on this Zoom screen takes a plastic bag after they're through with it and throws it on the ground somewhere outside?
I don't do that. But
Any of you?
I pick
Do you
them
know
up
of
all the
anybody
time.
who throws a plastic bag out the
If I-
window or in the when you're out having coffee or something? Say, "Boy, I'm through with this, man. Let's get rid of that, baby."
So you come down to my house someday and we'll go picking up litter and you'll see how many plastic bags there are along the side of the road because there's gazillions of them. So, yes, I see them. I see them in trees. I see them in the ocean. I pick them up off the beach. I pick them off of everywhere. They are a disaster. And just for the record, it wasn't environmentalists who said use plastic, not paper, ever. So let's just make that point.
Well, all I remember is we had paper bags and all of a sudden there was plastic and they said, you gotta save the tree.
Because the petroleum industry created plastic bags and they're significantly cheaper to give to
Always
people in
need a
stores.
boogeyman, always need a boogeyman.
Whatever, okay. I think I'm going to say nay.
Yeah.
Patrick?
Okay. Me? No,
This is for the amendment. This is just for the amendment.
Yeah. I am against charging. I forgot what the amendment was, even though it was
You're
mine.
voting yes. Is
Yeah,
what you're
I'm
doing.
voting yes. Thank you.
Welcome.
Going back and
Patrick,
forth.
just-
I'm ready to go to that drug.
I could have told you to
okay?
vote
I get
no.
free drugs, okay?
All right. Just so you
Jesus.
know, so the amendment fails 2-3. So we're back to the
Jill.
original motion.
Jill has a comment.
Oh, thank you. No, it was just for a minute if you were going to pass that. I believe it was amending more than one section, but it failed,
Okay.
so it's done.
Thanks.
However, I'd like to counter amend by changing the word shall to may in that same section and any other section in which it might appear.
I'll second that.
Is this, so how does this differ from how does this differ from Susan's by just removing it?
Well, because there's still something in the ordinance that identifies this as, as something to consider, as opposed to having it be eliminated and, totally.
It gives a rubber stamp for Stop and Shop to charge you.
So it's like a more.
It also gives a rubber stamp to Stop and Shop not to charge them.
Okay, so that's the new amendment, is to change shall to
Well,
may.
nobody seconded it yet, so. Oh, yes, Susan did. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
did, because I still don't want any fee, but that's a closest step to not wanting a fee. It gives a little bit of an option, correct?
Right.
So, again, I urge the council not to add a fee, but it failed. So I'm desperate. So I'll go with the change of the language to, my phone is blowing up. People just don't like the fee. I just hope it's not counterproductive to what we're trying to do. Seriously, to the businesses and to the residents. It's going to be a change that's going to be tough enough for the people, and adding the fee, I think, is just.
Because we're gonna have bag ladies storming
I
the
know.
next council
All
meeting.
right, so we have, this is an amendment. So I just want to make sure we take comment. There's 2 hands up, but they may be left up. So Brian Grieve and Al Alba. If you're not interested in commenting on this amendment, put your hand down. If you would like to, I'll call on you. All right, so Brian, please state your full name and address.
Yeah, I guess it was left out, but I think that I'll just emphasize that the point of the fee is not to, it was never designed as a revenue stream, okay? And it's not designed to try to switch to paper. It is purely designed to encourage people to bring their own bags into the store.
Penalty.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Penalty to change human behavior.
And then we have Al. Al, this is for the amendment specifically. So this is for Councilor Kopech's amendment. I'm going to call on you. Al, please state your full name and address.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24. Yes. I'm actually against the amendment. Online polls show that people do not support this amendment. What they do support is 2 things. Don't charge at all, as Susan and Patrick have stated, or choice two is to give people a 10-cent credit who use the reusable bags. That's it, unanimously online. So, re-election's coming around. This is going to hurt people in the pockets. So people are going to remember. So this is the election year. So, it's so be it, but things like this really stand in people's ways because everyone has to go shopping. It's a necessity to go out and buy food. So this is all I have to say, but thank you very much.
Al, I just want to ask a question. How would you suggest implementing a credit? Who would pay for that credit?
Whole Foods does it.
So then we would mandate that a store pays a credit?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so that would hurt businesses.
I don't know if it will hurt businesses because Whole Foods and many markets, in fact, on the Our Town page and the Narragansett Town Council forum page, there's a whole list of supermarkets that do this. And
Belmont does it.
it's not hurting their bottom line. So,
But that's their choice, right? It's not, right now, they're
well,
not.
they're saving by not giving bags out. They're saving by not spending the money on the bags. So that what they're doing is they're rewarding good behavior.
You know, Belmont does it, and I
We're gonna
think
have to
Stop
make
and
a
Shop
motion.
does
Yeah,
too.
Belmont does that. Thank you, Deb. Excellent.
You're welcome.
Belmont
Yep.
gives, I believe, 5 cents, and that is a much smaller business than supermarket. It's independently owned, and they're on target. You know, they're on target. So maybe we could take a lesson from Belmont. Thank you, Deb.
All right, thank you. Stanley?
You want me to make a motion to extend the meeting, Jesse? It's 11:14.
Yep. Sure, you make the motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to extend another 15 minutes.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
I was gonna say aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Nope.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-1. All right, Stanley, please state your full name and address.
And Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck
Please
Road.
make it in.
So I like that, that's a good compromise, may, so we may, so you learn all the businesses we may. Okay, we may charge or we may give a credit. Okay, let's get out there. The business can do either way. They might attract people to come in there by giving a credit instead of a charge. Who knows? But the idea of may must be done. It's not government control. So that's the best compromise I can see at this point. Thank you.
Please, Stanley. All right, that's it for public comment. All right, so we have the amendment.
Mike,
Is,
I think Mike wanted, did you want to speak? And Mike?
Go ahead, Mike.
I do not want to delay this, but I just wanted to explain why I suggested changing shall to may. Let's face it. I mean, paper bags cost more than plastic bags. That's why retailers use plastic bags. If we're going to remove plastic bags from their options, they're going to need to buy more paper bags. Paper bags are a commodity just like broccoli and baby wipes. They cost something. So, but it's up to but if you leave it as a may, then the retailer gets to choose whether or not he wants to charge you directly for the bags, or if he wants to add another 2 cents to the cost of a can of beans. So I think we're overthinking this as to what level of local regulation should be imparted here. And that is why I suggested giving the retailer the option, not to cause any trouble, as Mr. Alba had mentioned, but more to leave it back in the retailer's hands.
Sorry, thank you, Mike. All right, so we have the amendment by Deb. So why don't we just go ahead and vote on that? Eva, did you want to say something first? Or you were just pointing to Mike, right? Okay.
I was just pointing, Mike, sorry.
All right, so this is for the amendment to change shall to may. And I don't know what section that's in, but James, are we?
Yeah, section.
It's 62-206.
Yeah.
B.
Okay, so this is on the amendment. All in favor, starting with Susan.
And Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Zrinski.
I know how you feel.
I know. I just,
Come on, vote for it so I don't have to vote for it.
why wouldn't you vote for it?
Well, I'd rather have may than shall. If I had to.
You're covered.
Tried, no fee, it didn't work, Patrick, sorry.
I haven't voted to extend the meeting. What are you talking about?
I'll just I mean, I want to see it reduced, but I mean, if
I do too.
But you're getting rid of plastic. If you get rid of plastic, that's fine. Get rid of it, okay? So it won't be in the trees. But you don't have to start charging people for paper.
We can
Wait, did
try
you-
it this way, and we could always amend the ordinance if we find that we're not getting the,
That's
results that we want.
That's a new council. It's gonna have ramifications.
I'm gonna say aye.
All right, Deb,
Aye.
Patrick.
Against the whole thing, no.
All right. I disagree, but I'll vote aye. Even though I think we should charge, but I'll vote aye. Okay,
Compromise.
the amendment's 4-1. I'm going to go real quickly to Brian Wagner, who looked like he had something to say. I'm going to go to him just as the, person involved in writing this up. Brian, did you still want to speak on this, on the general motion?
Yeah, if you're changing the shall to may in 206B, then you should probably just go ahead and strike sections C and D, because if you no longer have a compulsory fee, those sections sort of don't have any operative effect anymore.
Right. Okay. James, that makes sense, right? Because there wouldn't be like enforcement.
Right.
Well, there would be enforcement on not having plastic bags still, right?
Yeah. This is this section is actually called regulation of paper carryout bags. So it's just about paper bags. You look
Does that
puzzled.
make sense, Brian, to you?
What Brian's
Yeah.
saying makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would keep section A, you would change section B from shall to may, but section C and D both dealt with the fees, which you are now making optional. So they really don't carry any effect anymore once you've made it permissive.
Okay. All right. So why don't we make a second amendment to strike C and D? The way we have it on the record.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All right.
Did you get that, Sarah? Did you get that?
No, can you please repeat that one more time?
Yes, this is a motion to remove from section 62-206 subsections C and D. Okay.
Okay. All in favor? Starting with Susan. Susan, you second that?
I seconded that, yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Wozzachowski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
No.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-1. And now we're back to the original motion, which is to approve as a first reading the ordinance. Any last comments? And then we'll take the vote. All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Trzynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Nope.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-1. Thank you all. Do we have a
Motion to
motion
adjourn.
to adjourn?
Second.
Motion.
All right, seconded by Patrick. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Trzynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye. Thank you.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved.
Thank you.
5-0. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mike DeLuca, for the help. At the end.
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Good
Sarah.
night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Good job,
night.
Sarah. Thank you.